Okay, we're back again. Here we go. Episode 18.
Here we go.
Look at this. We're sitting next to each other now.
I know.
Multicam's really leveled us up as a podcast, isn't it? So we're joined by, you might have seen him in previous episodes. Well, no, I'm saying it in plural. From Musicians Fae Moray Part 2, we've got our good friend Jamie in to help us talk about
Welcome.
Thank you very much. How you boys doing?
Well, very good. I was just about to welcome you to our. You're taking part in what we're now saying is HNC journalism with hasty.
Right.
Yeah.
But we're doing it that much now. I think we're going to improve to probably HND soon.
Yeah, soon.
Might even have a degree by the end of this episode.
Gotta be.
Murray College, if you're watching, right? So how's the last couple weeks been?
Yeah, it's been alright. Back to work now, finally, after unpaid leave. So, yeah, it's nice to be earning money again. But also, yeah, very, very tired at the same time. But yeah, I've been looking forward to getting back. Yeah, like I said about a topic today, it's interesting. Looking forward to it. I'm not going to be the one to introduce it, though.
Fresh off. Why do you not want to introduce it?
No, this is
Do your goddamn job. So yeah, we're talking about UFOs today. I've got to say I went down a pretty massive rabbit hole this week. I watched 4 different documentaries, and then there's a thing that I'm going to talk about at the end. Don't worry, it's nothing groundbreaking.
I was going to say, what do you know?
Yeah, it's like, no, it's confirmed it's real. Someone reached out now.
How deep's the rabbit hole, though?
Yeah, well, I didn't think I was too invested in UFOs, right? And then I watched, because you recommended me a bunch of documentaries to watch in preparation for this. So I decided to watch the Bob Lazar one, and then I kind of got bitten by a bit of a bug, shall we say, and for like the next 4 days, it was like as soon as I got in, I've got to get the notepad out and start watching. Like, so yeah, I kind of got the bug for it. I'm always, I'm quite a questioning person, I'd like to think, but it's just something that I don't know, like when you see people and it's all they obsess about in life is UFOs, right? Like people are like, oh, I've made contact with aliens at KFC car park or something. You know what I mean?
I got probed.
No, that was something else. Maybe not.
Getting proper abducted in your dreams and stuff.
So yeah, right. We don't actually know how we're going to structure this because, as you might not be able to see, you might be able to see, but you might not be. Yeah. We've got absolutely shit barrels of notes here. Kind of like we're investigating some kind of homicide, like that. So what we'll do is because the documentaries I've watched, Jamie's also watched as well. I'll not quickly, because we want this to go on for a bit. Yes. Go through, the talking points that I took away from those films, and we'll talk about it and stuff, and then you guys can come in with your points and that, and then I think I've got some general notes as well after we've sifted all through that, and then I've got the kind of not big reveal. It's just more kind of a cool story that's to the local area. So
all right, interesting stuff.
Looking
forward to
it. Stay tuned for that. Please don't leave yet. I know this is probably going to be about 2 hours. I know this is a long time, and you don't have a big attention span on YouTube these days. But just come on, we need it. You know what I mean? Right. So where are we? So the first one that I watched was Bob Lazar. Yeah. Bob Lazar, Area 51, and Flying Saucers. Yep. Pardon myself. So Bob Lazar was basically an Area 51 whistleblower, from what I took from it.
Yeah. Bob worked at a place called S4, Area S4, which is like Area 51's like right beside Groom Lake. It's out in past Rachel, Nevada, and Las Vegas. So. And there's like a massive dry lake bed, which is called Groom Lake. Right, okay. And then there's a massive mountain that's right beside Area 51 and that. And on the other edge of that mountain is where Area S4 is. And that's where Bob said that he worked. Mm-hmm.
Some of the because this was in 1989, when he kind of first revealed it. And the claims are probably at the time you would think, this person might need to be arrested under the Mental Health Act, just because nowadays we get to see you can't hide stuff as easily, right? Like nowadays, the internet and everything gets leaked and whatever. Whereas back then it was very watertight. What went in and out to the public, right? The papers. And
it's very, very controlled.
Yeah. So he would come out with claims like, "We're testing. Not only have we got alien aircraft, we're actually trying to replicate it with our technology because this is so advanced. Yeah. They have no clue how they've made this. Yeah. and they're trying to replicate it in a way with our own technology because, you know, not to be too cynical or everything, but, you know, whenever we get a hold of something new, it's like, how can we weaponize this?
Well, that's
exactly the problem.
Yeah.
I think, you know, if you took a motorcycle, right? You took a motorbike and you dropped it off in the 1800s.
Yeah.
Right? That's sort of like the same thing. Like, we don't understand the physics of it, how it works, but we know that we might be able to fly it around, or like in the motorbike case, you might be able to drive it around, but we'll never be able to replicate.
Yeah.
Not in that times anyway. We don't have the technology.
It'd be like, even if you brought like a smartphone to like 1920, like people would actually think you're like a witch or something like that.
Without a doubt.
Even in 1950.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You'd even just hold this phone in your hand, you'd be like, what is that?
Yeah.
You know?
He's talking into something.
It's like, how could I use this to take out countries?
Why can I see myself in the mirror?
What is this portable mirror people are taking? Why is it telling me I've got 51?
Why is he talking at it?
Like, I've always like that's kind of like, there was I think Bob might, I don't know if it was Bob, but someone used that analogy anyway about the motorbike and you know,
I think it was a nuclear reactor. You might have said, like, because if you go near a nuclear reactor, you're not coming back. Basically,
Oh yeah,
like you've seen Chernobyl, the TV series.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Just radiation.
Yeah.
Just,
But people would go near it because they don't know what
you can't see it.
Exactly, right?
So, yeah.
So he was like saying that
So you
we're
need a Geiger
testing.
counter for that stuff, don't you?
Mhm.
Sorry.
Yeah. So he was like claiming that we're testing, like we've actually got control of these things now. Not all of them, but like I think he said there was 9 in the area that he worked in.
There was 9 craft.
Yeah. So like I think he actually did he if I remember rightly, this could be one of the other documentaries I've watched because obviously they've all kind of blended into one the last couple of days. But did he not claim, or he actually did film one of these test flying things, and that's how he got caught?
Yeah. Well, after the whole whistleblower thing, where Bob sort of said, well, but he kind of leaked the information that he wasn't supposed to leak.
Mm-hmm.
He was telling his wife, his friends and stuff, like, this is where he had been, this is why nobody had heard from him, because as you saw in the documentary, the job was demanding, and it was like you'd leave at like 3 a.m. For like a week or
because they're wanting you to work on this round the clock.
Yeah, exactly.
The sooner that we figure this out.
Yeah, and, and then he would say to like his friends, he'd be like, yeah, this is where I've been. I know it sounds stupid, but let me take you there. So he did. He took them there to, I think it was like every Wednesday night at like 8 o'clock or something. It was like pitch black when they went. I mean, the desert, no lights, nothing there. So he would like take like a caravan with them, and they'd go out and they'd like go camping sort of thing, and then he would show them like the tests that he was working on and the craft he was working on. And then I think he did it 3 times, and on the 3rd time is when he got caught.
Yeah, because I actually watched the or listened to rather the podcast episode that he did with Joe Rogan, and he actually goes into a bit of deal that I think he was in what do they call it in America, as a motorhome, something like that, the camper van. He was in one of them with a friend, and you know, they were away to film the thing again, but they got quite lazy, and I think something like basically all the military was surrounded them, and like someone had fell. And then the next thing you know, there's like all these guys with night vision scopes and that around them. Like, how's it going? You might want to come with us.
Yeah.
Bugger.
I think the first time that he spoke about it though, to like media, because that was what's the guy's name? George Knapp. He's the investigative reporter that he's had the relationship with for years.
Yeah.
He did it was an interview with him, but he's not actually physically able to be seen. Like he's like blacked out, if you know what I mean, or they've put like shade over him so no one can see his facial features and that.
That was the first time they ever interviewed him, and he called himself Dennis.
Yeah.
And that was his boss's name. That was kind of like a dig.
Yeah.
At them saying like, you can't hide this. I'm going to tell people now.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. And but yeah, I actually think the whole thing where he took people out to see this, I actually think that might have been after. I think it would have been after. Yeah. After the whole interview thing, because I think he wanted people to know what was happening in case he disappeared.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Because as much as he can be discredited, the easier it is for them to take him out, and no one really cares.
Exactly.
You know, like people are like, "Oh, he was crazy anyway." But a lot of people are going to watch that documentary and still think, "Oh, this dude's absolutely nanners or whatnot." And there's obviously going to become the accusations like he might do it for money, write books about it, whatever, for financial gain. But from my take on him, this dude's an introvert. This dude is someone that does not like this attention. If anything, he regrets actually saying it because it's affected his life very negatively in his way.
He makes no money from it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you've got everyone hounding him for stories.
Yeah, exactly. And like, obviously, he comes across as quite an introverted person anyway. He doesn't seem like...
He's a private person.
Yeah.
And I think when all this sort of happened back then, I don't know how old he would have been. I think he would have probably been about our age.
Yeah.
Late 20s, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. He was actually quite young to be working on something that massive. But you think really differently now to what we're going to think like in 20 years.
Yeah.
Well, that's very true. Yeah, definitely.
We'd be much more sensible about it, but the older we get. And I think he was like, nah, people need to know this. I think now he would be like, nah.
Nah, it didn't make any difference anyway.
No, exactly.
So he also came out with some other claims that he's been proven right on with just how times went. Now, in 1989, he claimed that the government had biometric technology to scan people's hands to enter rooms and stuff like that.
That's true, yeah.
And that has been confirmed now as true. I think they... I don't want to sound like Alex Jones, like, they admitted that! They admitted in 2014 that had been part of the project. And the scary thing is about it is, like, you could say, oh, well, that's just, chance. Of course they were going to make that down the line. The way that it was shown when they did reveal it in that is exactly what this dude described it as in 1989, which is like, how the heck would you know, like, detail by detail, what that looks like 20 years? I mean, they could just say, well, they used his actual, like, maybe like he came up with it and they're like, oh, well, we'll use that. Do
you want to know what was amazing about that whole thing, though? Is that he took they found a picture of the actual technology that he did. Right. That he, that obviously the hand that measures the, what's it called? It's like a scanner thing, isn't it? But it measures the bones.
Scanner,
yeah, measures the bones in your hand. And they found a picture of it and they showed Bob. They didn't tell him, but they showed him just out of the blue. And you can genuinely see the surprise on his face. Yeah. It was genuine. Like, it was very genuine. He couldn't believe that
I had a photo of it.
That Jeremy Corbell actually found a photo of this. And he was going, I told people like 30 years ago about this, and then all of a sudden it's here. Which was, I mean, you can't fake that if you watch him. You can't fake the way that he was surprised.
Relief that he's like...
That's another thing that's ticked off that he said was real.
And obviously, like, we talk about the negative things that happened in his life as a result of speaking out about this kind of stuff. Lazar's legitimacy as a scientist was brought into question because basically what happened, he claimed that, I can't remember the school's name, but he claimed he got a degree from one of these top medical schools, and that he'd worked, and he'd worked in relevant sectors and that, and you could find all these records. Now, when the people that George Knapp and that, when he spoke to him, and Jeremy Corbell was the guy that did the
he's a filmmaker,
filmmaker. All these records were wiped, so you could not find any proof. And well, they did find proof eventually, but they had to like dig real deep. Like, you should be able to ask, because wherever you work, you're going to be kept on file as an employee, right? Because
that's what they do.
Yeah, exactly. And they like asked all these businesses and the schools and stuff, and they all were like, no records. This guy's never been. So this was like next level discrediting of this person has never worked in Area 51. This person has never had these degrees and that. But they actually found eventually a phone book from 1982. I can't remember if it was the university it was at or one of the jobs that he'd worked at.
I think it would have been at Los Alamos.
Yeah, he was in the phone book. And it's like, why you got this dude in the phone book if you don't have some connection to him? Do you know what I mean? But this, like, his kind of life had almost been wiped from systems. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just, like, this is
to make him shut up.
They erased his birth certificate.
Oh wow,
that's so mad.
So you do not exist.
They tried to do that in order so his story meant nothing, and he was completely discredited from anything. So, like, it was a newspaper article as well was another thing that they had found out in order to prove that he was at Los Alamos at this time, and that he'd created this jet car.
He was in like making
he made like weird shit. Like, he had this jet engine in the back of a Honda Civic, and he would drive to Los Alamos every day and stuff. And they found a newspaper article from when he was there, and then they kind of went, "Oh, okay, you were there then.
Yeah.
Like it's there in black and white. It's literally there. So that's Los Alamos kind of. They kind of just gave Los Alamos the finger there, to sort of say, well.
And not only proves him right, proves that, like, I don't want to be like the state, but
well,
like,
yeah, well, they were trying to get rid of him.
Business and system in that will pull like these dodgy techniques.
Oh yeah.
To like, not have you not comply with what they want you to do.
Well, I mean, think about what Los Alamos probably got. I mean, they were probably threatened. People, I mean, the people that were in charge there.
Yeah.
As well as people at Caltech to say, erase this records. This guy was not here. No, don't ask any questions. He just wasn't here. And then there was, I mean, he was employed by, I think he went to EG&G? I think I've got it here somewhere. Yeah, EG&G, and that's when he got interviewed for the job at S4, which is where all this crazy shit happened.
This stuff was going down.
Yeah.
But like he speaks with real conviction when he talks about this stuff. Like, there's people that'll like be at the back of the pubs like, yeah, well, there's like some glue thing was in like the dark, and then some alien like asked me like what my star sign was or something. Like that. Do you know what I mean? Like,
when you hear him, you can tell this guy's smart.
Yeah,
as
and
fuck.
you can tell this guy,
he's smart.
He obsesses over stuff like this.
Yeah.
Like, you can tell that he's the person that will be awake at night thinking about this stuff.
Yeah.
And like another great analogy, well, not analogy, but the way that he explains how this technology works is, if you look at how we use transport and stuff like that today, so like cars, bikes, whatever, it all revolves around a system of having power out the back to help you go forward.
Yeah, exactly.
Where the biggest kind of difference with this is that whoever or whatever is the owner of this vehicle, the creator, has figured out how to manipulate gravity, basically.
Antimatter.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously people be like, well, what do you mean how to figure out gravity? Like, you go down, but that's not it, right? Like, that's how gravity reacts to us, but we haven't actually found a way to control it, right? Like, because we can't
manipulate it.
Yeah.
No.
Whereas this can. Like, it can, and he was saying, like, once you figure out gravity, then the world's your oyster. The whole world changes, your economy, all this kind of, if you think about force fields, you can make stuff like that. And he was using a good example of the way that this thing moves is it creates a distortion in front of it, and that's how it moves. So take a bowling ball, put it on like a mattress, and then push your fist into it. The bowling ball's going to roll because you've made a distortion in the environment that it's in.
Yeah.
And that's what this technology does, and that's how
it creates momentum.
It can go any which way
It's almost like it creates this sort of like heart-shaped bubble around the craft itself. So if you're talking about the UFO now, it's like it'll fly. It's weird though, 'cause it flies belly up. Did you see that part where he was talking about that? Yeah. So I've got a bit about the science here. I'm gonna probably sound like an absolute mad person reading this out, I think.
The camera just gets cut halfway through this podcast. They were never seen again.
It's called advanced propulsion. Right? So there was like 3 amplifiers downstairs in the craft. And then they turn 180 degrees and they rotate at 360. And one will swing up and create a distortion, the distortion that you were talking about. And it'll create a distortion in front of it, allowing the craft to slide forward. But obviously, before that, you need to turn it on.
Yeah.
And then that's where we get into like the proper, how like the element 115 and everything that makes it
which
go.
We'll be coming up to.
Yeah.
Because that plays a massive role in this, and kind of leaves you on a massive cliffhanger when you watch this documentary, because let's just say that there could be more to come from this dude later on. But another thing that I think backs him up immensely is that he actually got into trouble with the law for a totally unrelated incident. I think it was like soliciting prostitution or something like that.
Yeah.
So
Batman.
The authorities really wanted to throw the book at this guy because, it's the 80s. Prostitution's not something that's legal and all that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
And obviously he was, had a bit of a target on his back because they'll be like, wait,
yeah,
that's the guy that talks about UFOs. Let's give him 25 years. You know what I mean?
Let's get him off the street.
So he got offered, I think in America they call it a plea bargain, where basically like they were saying to him, if you admit that all this stuff that you're coming out with is absolute garbage, then you can avoid jail, which you would think most people would do, right? If you're facing 25 years in the clink,
well, yeah,
and someone goes,
fair
here,
point.
just say that stuff that you said a couple of years ago, just say that it's all rubbish. You would just be like, okay, because you value your freedom, right? You're not gonna be like, no one really believes me anyway. I'm not sitting in a 4x4 cell for the rest of my life. Well,
just because I refuse to take back what I said.
Yeah, but he didn't change the story.
Brave man.
Like, well, I also
Brave
think
man.
that makes it authentic.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Because this isn't just he lost some money or something. He was literally about to lose like a quarter of his life.
That's crazy.
But the thing is, like, the story stays consistent over the whole time.
Yeah,
Nothing changes. Nothing's been added to it. Nothing's been taken away. It's all the same.
Yeah,
as it was, like,
and you would think because he became quite a big name, whether he wanted to or not, you would think when people get that kind of fame, they kind of get like corrupted by it a little bit, and then there might be like more sensationalist things, like I said with like the dude that you meet in a pub and that, and he's like, oh yeah, I've seen like 3 UFOs, I've got 2 of them in my house, like I think my mum's a Martian or something like, you know what I mean? Like they just take it way too far. Like that's why I probably didn't view it for ages, because most people you speak to on UFOs that are interested in them are like that.
yeah.
But so
going back to that part about how it would change everything, like how we have exhausts, right? Things come out the back, we go forward. This whole thing is like, it's like we wouldn't need cars. You wouldn't need planes, trains.
You wouldn't need fossil fuels.
Fossil fuels are completely just out of the picture. And I think that was actually a way that I think Nikola Tesla had a little idea about, how we didn't need fossil fuels back when he was alive.
Yeah.
And I think, I don't think the government particularly liked that he had that idea.
Yeah.
Because how much money is made in oil?
Exactly.
Dubai wouldn't be Dubai now, would
Yeah.
it?
Well,
if you look at it now.
Yeah. Oil and gas and fossil fuels and that, like, hold my business a second.
Yeah.
We're going to lose a shit ton of money.
Billions
changes
and
the
billions
environment.
of dollars. And I think that's another part of it, why the government don't want to tell you what technology is available.
Yeah. Because then there would be because they say, oh, well, we would love to be like greener and economic friendly and all that kind of stuff, but we don't have the power to do so.
Yeah.
Whereas this actually proves that they did.
Yeah.
Then it would be like, over to you, Joe Biden, Boris Johnson, or whoever. Can you imagine Boris Johnson in control of this stuff? He probably is one of them.
Oh nah, he better not be.
I think his head would just explode if he.
His head explodes anyway when you just see him in Parliament. You look at him and you go, "That suit is horrible. Doesn't even fit you. Your hair, you haven't done your hair in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Like, come on."
He actually looks like a scarecrow.
Do you think?
Yeah,
like
exactly. Yeah.
He does the hair thing on purpose though, right? Because it distracts
Surely.
from like what actually happens. Because he's always in some kind of scandal, or someone that works for him is like, stealing money or breaking the law with some kind of weird highway crew.
His father is he's more together than him.
Yeah,
his father's actually quite cool. I think it's quite cool. But Boris is just off it.
It's quite mental that it gives everyone a bit of hope that person's became the most powerful person in the United Kingdom. You know what I mean? It's like there's hope for us all. But anyway, we're not here to talk about Boris.
No, I know. It's quite easy how he gets dragged into it.
If you're willing to come on, Boris, after your term's over, feel free. So Lazard then, to kind of try and authenticate his kind of side of the story and try and make an effort to authenticate his side of the story, his truth, is he used hypnosis to try and recall specific details. He did recall specific details, because there's the part in the film where after the hypnosis he draws pretty much a tailor-made like craft that he had explained it in like his when he's like talking about it before and it's like so detailed. Like, it's not just a scribble that someone came up with.
He drew it on its side, did he not?
Yeah.
And then he turned it around and he was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, because he didn't recognize it at first.
No, it freaked him out. He freaked himself out, didn't he? Yeah, that whole thing is like that comes to obviously the polygraph tests.
Yeah, that's literally what I was going to bring up next. Yeah. Which we were talking about polygraph tests for the Jeremy Kyle episode.
Yeah.
And we're talking about how he had like that was his lie detector test, wasn't it? And we're like, isn't it like 96% accurate?
Yeah.
Which, okay, there is going to be something that slips through the net, but like most of the time, like, 99.5% or whatever the hell it is, it's right. You can't cheat it, like. So yeah, he passed. Well, didn't pass that. I make it sound like a driving test, but he passed the flying colors. Like, there was no way that this dude. Well, they were saying he's either like crazy and he literally believes this is what happened, or he's telling the truth. Like, there's no kind of why behind this or any kind of.
It was like 5 times he passed it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's wild. A lot of people must have just been like, we're going to have to start accepting some stuff.
Yeah.
The government are just like in the car, like, God damn it, Jeremy Kyle, bringing all these polygraphs.
If you think about it, right, the fact that he's passed that 5 times, that just shows you that they've got technology that can do teleportation and time travel. Just let that sink in a little bit.
Do you ever like see when it comes from like UFOs and stuff? They always assume it's just from another planet.
Yeah.
But if this stuff can defy gravity, what else does it though? Do you know what I mean? What if it's us as a more advanced future coming
this
back?
This is exactly what. Yeah, this is where we're gonna go to. It's like dimensions, isn't it?
Well, some people believe that we ascended and then actually we come back to try guide the others.
Yeah, exactly. Because
we go back to some of the old prophets.
We're obviously not making a good job of stuff in the moment. Like if I watch do you know a guy called Tim Dillon? He's on the Joe Rogan podcast quite a lot.
Yes,
he's so funny.
He's
man.
funny. He is really funny.
Yeah. He was talking about it's either being locked in your house at the moment or having violent mobs in the street, and it's like you've just got to choose one of these options. It's like,
yeah, he's funny.
So yeah, we're kind of in this weird time where we're kind of not doing anything right. It's like we're like everything's going out of control. Like the pandemic, the Afghanistan things happened recently, massive refugee crisis. Everywhere's flooding. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so, and I think this is kind of what we'll touch on in Close Encounters with the Fifth Kind in a bit. I think it's a guy called Stephen Gear that
Dr. Stephen Gear.
And he has like a big belief behind the whole telepathy and spiritual kind of connection we have with extraterrestrial beings. And you would think that there must be some kind of similar connection from us to them if we can communicate like that, because it's literally every story you hear about anyone that's had contact or claimed to have had contact. Like, they can't all just be like getting in a room together. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is how we carry on. You know?
Wow. No, I get what you mean. Yeah, it's always the similarities where they spoke to me through telepathy or whatever. Yeah, I agree.
So if you were advanced, why would you need your mouth?
Well,
exactly.
Yeah.
You know,
and like we've said before, we're still quite an animalistic species in the sense of whenever we see something new, we're quite cynical in the way of how do we either kill this thing or how do we get it to help us kill things? You know, like.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's.
And why would they make contact? Because the first thing that we would do is like shoot at it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think there was a video of satellite of like a UFO in outer space, and we shoot an electronic weapon at it, and it dodges it obviously because it's like, you know what I mean? It's like we've got like this groundbreaking technology, and so like it didn't even make contact, and we were like, kill it, you know? What I mean? Don't even let it show it, and even if it was, because they make a good point of a lot of the way that this is talked about in that is seen as this is the next kind of threat that they'll use to scare people. And
I was just gonna speak about
bring more stuff. Like if you think about global terrorism, and then they brought in stuff for like surveillance and stuff like that, and now you're seeing stuff with like what's happening at the moment, and passports and that are being introduced, and there's some backlash against all that kind of stuff. This is the next thing where it's like there's a legit threat from outer space, and that's why we need a space force, and that's why we need to start building like moon bases and all this kind of stuff. See,
that was Trump.
Yeah.
You know what Trump's like? Yeah. Trump's away. He's off his head. But at the end of the day, like I like Trump. I like him in a way because he acts. He's not all talk. He will actually act. The whole thing about the Space Force, though, if there is, I'm not going to sit here and go, I know there's UFOs. I know there's aliens and stuff, but. What's our Space Force going to do about it?
Yeah, exactly.
How old is our rockets at NASA? The only person...
Do we have weapons that are going to be able to breach atmospheres?
Yeah, exactly, right?
No, we don't.
The only person that I would trust with anything remotely close to space is Elon Musk.
Yeah. But that's
He's
because
kinda
he's got
doing
his,
things-
like, his own...
Yeah.
Like, that's mental that you can have so much money in a world that you can just, like, discover a new one, you know? Like, like, it's a common theme recently, isn't it? Like, Musk hasn't actually been to space himself yet, I don't think. Bezos went up. Richard, you know, you didn't believe him when Richard Branson went up. But
He wants to die on Mars.
yeah, well, that's his plan, isn't it? To colonize Mars eventually. And
that's his thing.
Which is quite a funny. It's total human reaction of, rather than sort out what we're doing to this planet, we're just going to keep doing what we're doing and move it to another planet, and then that'll be like 2,000 years down the line.
I kind of see Musk though, in a way of he's doing his bit by making our civilization a multi-planetary species. But we kind of do need to do that.
Yeah.
Because think about the population is massive.
Yeah, it's times by 7 in 100 years, right?
So I mean, if you think about it, without even curing diseases like cancer and Alzheimer's
HIV
and all these horrible stuff
yeah.
that kill people, without doing that, it's growing anyway. I mean, so think about what would happen if we did cure all this stuff.
Yeah, exactly, right. The population crisis would
going and going and going, and you need to go somewhere.
Yeah.
So
you know, I mean, like
Mars it is.
Yeah.
Well, Stephen Hawking released a statement basically saying, should we or shouldn't we communicate with extraterrestrials? Because he's saying the way that we are, you know, if anyone picks it up, they're going to pick it up, come here, and then basically destroy us.
Yeah.
Because that's all we seem to do.
That's always how it's always portrayed in films as well, right?
Personally, I don't quite believe that. I believe that. I think when you watch movies like Alien, Independence Day, all these films, the government try and sort of
subliminally say to you, these things are evil.
These things are going to come here and they're going to wipe us out. Do you not think they would have done that already?
Well, that's
like,
very true.
We're going to have no say in it if that's what their plan was, you know.
And if they decided, that's it, yous are done, we can't do fuck all about it. So what's the point in actually having an opinion on it? Because if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. But I think it would have happened by now.
Yeah, because I mean, I do have stuff on the SETI program which goes into like trying to communicate with life outside of our own, where they focus on planets within the Goldilocks zone.
Right.
So it's a planet which isn't too far or too close away from the sun, so it's not too hot, it's not too cold, but it also supports water, which in our eyes, for our civilizations, that's what supports all life.
Yeah.
So they actually aim the SETIs, the satellites, all at these Goldilocks zones, and all they do is just transmit, or they try to take up any noises from space. But as we all know, it's extremely loud.
Yeah.
So trying to decipher anything that could be a message from any intelligent life, that's literally what they do around the clock.
Right.
It's amazing. I was like watching it, just like there's like just rows of satellites, and they're all going crazy all day. It's absolute madness. But I thought that was great, and they're some of the most powerful ones in the world as well. So like, it's crazy to think that there is a section purposely built just to do that. Like that's what it's there to do, is try contact with something.
It's like, is anyone there?
Yeah, it's wild though. I just thought that was crazy.
I kind of feel like they should put less money into war.
Yeah.
And more money into that.
Oh yeah.
I think we would have got a lot. I think we would have been much further.
But
I reckon
again,
if we got
we're
a space
talking
force,
about.
though, I'd be signing up to go to space. Would you?
Yeah,
I'd love to go to space.
If someone
I just don't want to have to like, I don't know, fight 9-headed dogs or something on Mars, or you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, but like, I think if someone like phoned me right now and went, "Do you want to go to space tomorrow?" I'd be like, "Yes, yes, I'm going. I don't care if I don't come back.
Let's do this."
But like, I mean, the Space Force. I don't know. The Space Force. That's just another way of saying, "Oh, let's like guard the planet." Where I'm sorry, what are you gonna do about it?
Well, if they're able to get to us in a flash, then
it's like Team America, and they're like, "We're police, get on the ground."
It's like, when you think about it, though, it's like, oh yeah, we got a Space Force, right? What is NASA?
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of basically.
What are astronauts? Yeah. What is that then? Yeah. You know what I mean?
You know what would make astronauts better? An M60.
Yeah. A laser gun or something.
In pressurized containers on the moon.
Yeah. So, bringing it back to Paul Bazaar for a quick second. So this guy's been raided by the FBI quite a number of times in the last. Though we mentioned Elman.
Are you still laughing at that joke you just made there?
Let's not laugh about it. They could come here. It was only half a joke, right? It's kind of almost reality as well. But
get a message from Ryan tomorrow morning. I'm getting raided.
It's like, I don't want to alarm
Look what you've done to
the
me.
FBI are everywhere at the moment.
Looking for your Snickers collection.
Just take like the Starbar wrapper. So we mentioned Element 115 earlier. Now, Bob Lazar's been raided by the FBI. I'm trying to say this with a straight face, because now you've got me laughing for the joke. But he's been raided a few times over the last couple of years, and there's somewhat of a belief, and there's a part, quite an eerie part of this documentary where Jeremy Corbell, just getting that name right again, speaks to Bob quite privately, and he says, I'm going to encrypt this file and that, and no one else can be able to see it from me, and you will decide if it's going to be in the film or not. And he asks him, did you get some of Element 115 out of Area 51? And then it cuts off there, and we don't get to hear the answer, which, take from that what you will.
Yeah.
But he said, he was like, we're not going there.
There, exactly. He totally deflects.
Tommy Tyson.
Okay.
He does have it.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
I saw an experiment he done on it.
Mm-hmm.
He had Element 115, and he was doing an experiment. I wrote it down somewhere if I can find it. I did write something about this yesterday. The experiment itself was called something. I can't find it. A cloud chamber.
Oh yeah. They bring that in the documentary as well.
And the light itself, he bent light.
Mm-hmm.
Now we can't do that.
Yeah, that is impossible.
But with this element itself, it's stable.
Mm-hmm.
The element 115 itself is stable in order, so it can. That's why it can power up incredible amounts of energy and stuff like that. And that's how that experiment was done. So how else did he bend light?
Yeah, exactly.
I think
he probably watches that video back now like, damn it, that's how they're on.
I'm no scientist, right? But that's not normal.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, exactly.
And the FBI don't just rock up your place.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
to be fair, they did say that they might be doing it just to be like, we're watching you. We know you have that. Well, and we're gonna find it.
What they tried to say is, like Bob himself, he's got his own shop, and website and stuff, and he sells fireworks, and he makes like cool things, and he can buy things.
Earlier projects,
yeah, you can buy things from him, and like he's good at what he does. He does all that sort of stuff. Mm-hmm. Ever since he was young, all he's done is science projects. That's all he's done, and you may as well. That may as well be your. That may as well be your job. So this guy had bought something from him, and they were trying to say, oh, we need receipts, we need files, because what you sold that guy could have been dangerous.
Yeah.
And Bob's like, why didn't you just call me up then? Why did you have to come to my... Like,
why is there like 7 vans out?
Yeah, why is there like 12 different departments of the government and all that coming to, like, what... He knows what they're looking for.
Although, to be fair, in Scotland we do kind of similar things, because I remember seeing some guy that had his lights were out, right, so he's using his fog lights as like a substitute. The police started to like pull them over, and then I was coming back because I was away at the shop or something. There were like 5 squad cars. There's one guy, you know what I mean? Like, I was like, that must be like some kind of mass murder. So I was like, nah, he's using his fog lights. You know what I mean? But yeah, like obviously in America, it's like, they don't mess about in America, especially law enforcement, right? So if you've got someone top priority, or you're a priority target, or whatever you want to label it as,
you have no privacy.
All the boys are getting involved. You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, you think about it though. If he's, I'm not even going to say if. I'm saying he has got this. This is the most powerful piece of
technology
you can hold in your hand.
Yeah.
On this planet.
Oh yeah.
Nothing comes close to that. You're talking about power. You're powering a force field that literally nothing can penetrate. You throw something at it, it's going to bounce right off it. I mean, I'm talking about missiles and everything. I mean, it's like time travel, teleportation. I mean, you're literally bending space and time, and you're jumping through hoops.
That's crazy, isn't it?
Like, this is literally real technology that they're looking for.
Yeah.
That's why they were all lined up outside in his place trying to.
Because they're like, you cannot have that. Because not only does it validate you, it could make you the most powerful human on earth if you figure out how to use it.
I'm scared about how he took it from there, though.
Yeah, how the hell did you get that out?
Did he have to put up his bummers.
Yeah.
Did he use it?
Even
that.
How did he get that out of there?
Like, even
probably used it.
Even that kind of tactics, you would think like you wouldn't get someone out of there like that. So God knows.
I can talk about. I've got this thing, and it actually tells you how it actually works. I actually wrote it down. It took a while to write this down. Probably a couple of years ago I did this. So element 115 is loaded into the antimatter reactor, which is like a particle accelerator, really. And know that thing in Switzerland with the smash things.
Yeah.
Is that the Hadron Collider?
Hadron Collider, yeah. And then element 115 is loaded to transmute and convert it into electrical power, which causes a reaction, which is called a radiation emission. And it produces antimatter. The antimatter is guided down a tune tube, then it reacts with a gas. When matter and antimatter react, they convert to 100% energy, and to convert to electrical power. So the electrical power is used to power absolutely everything on the craft. A large element like element 115 creates a large gravitational wave, which extends beyond the perimeter. I can't even.
Pyramid?
No, perimeter.
Perimeter.
Perimeter
There
of the atom. Yeah. The wave shoots up and down the tube and decays and converts to a reaction to amplify the gravity wave. So that's how you get that bubble out of the around the craft. It's like armor.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah,
because he mentions that he tried to put his hand towards it or something, and it would force it away. And it was like he was explaining, like, you know, when you try and put two magnets together.
Yeah,
it was like that. Like he could not.
He's being repelled.
Yeah.
Do I know why I couldn't read that word? Because I spelled it wrong in there.
All right.
The craft will use 223 grams of element 115, and it's like little triangles, and they're cut from so you've got a tube.
It starts
off
like a cylinder, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and it's cut into like little triangles pretty much, and it's like 223 grams of that, and then so obviously when exposed to radiation, it produces its own gravitational field.
Yeah,
and that's how it's. I mean, it sounds like your brain's gonna explode,
right? Yeah. That this stuff is, there's quite a lot of proof that this stuff is. You know what I mean? And obviously they can be like, well, it doesn't. Everyone's a fantasist and that, but it's like, there's just some things that are undeniable, right? Yeah. Like you keep rocking up at this dude's house. Definitely not.
He's obviously got something.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I think if you went to a scientist, like any physicist, I think that had any degree of some sort, I think they would probably look at that and say, yeah, that checks out.
Yeah.
But it's still unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, if you tell this planet, the civilization itself, you tell them one thing, and they know it's fact, and they'll still go, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, there's people that, there's like people that don't believe like germ theory. You know what I mean?
Well,
people like germs don't exist, and it's like, well, I think they do, mate. I've had the flu a few times
in
my life, and it sucks. You know what I mean? Like, so we wish Bubbles are all the best, and
I've been a fan of his for a few years now.
Yeah, hopefully if he does, I don't know, get a force field, can we come in so when the planet does implode, we're all safe.
And
we can keep this podcast going. But so the next one I watched was Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind.
Yeah, I don't have any notes on that.
Another one you
literally all the ones I think I said, all the ones I got sent, I could not find. So I found one totally different that was on the list. So
that's good to get like an extra.
Yeah, that's it. I'll just wait.
So this is made by a guy that I mentioned earlier, Professor Stephen Greer.
Yep.
So the first note I've got down here is kind of what we talked about earlier with using alien existence as a threat to humanity. Is what we're talking about. Like they're saying, like, they're going to come down here and they're definitely,
they're going to kill us.
Ill intentions, right? And this kind of adds to the point that I brought up earlier. There's a lot of thought that the reason the aliens haven't made contact, in like an orthodox sense, is because they don't trust us to be peaceful, which you could probably understand, right? Considering we haven't even really spoke to them, and we've actually fired weapons at them. Do you know what I mean? So there was a alien disclosure thing in 2001, where all these top ex-military generals and scientists and all that.
Yeah.
Did like a talk, or multiple talks and that. And there seems to be a direct. Did you say it was 1800s? It was the first UFO sighting.
Way before that.
There's obviously it depends on how far with all the Mayan paintings and all that kind of stuff. They all depict things. So I mean, it's one of the ones that I got was where did I wrote it down? Didn't I? Now I'm gonna have to find the date.
I mean, the paintings that you were talking about, they've all got like these weird UFO looking things in the sky. Now, why is a person back then painting that?
Exactly, right.
Yeah, sorry. So the one I have written down was from 1897.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it seems like it's ramped up immensely ever since we've gained nuclear arms.
Yeah.
Maybe not just that, but they've took a very tunnel-visioned interest in why we have nuclear weapons and what we're planning on doing. Well, there's only one thing you can't do with nuclear weapons, is there?
Oh,
but,
exactly.
So, World War II kind of plays a pretty pivotal role in this because it seems like it's skyrocketed in terms of incidences from there on in. And obviously technology didn't change. I mean, nowadays, like, you've got a phone, you've got the internet and all this. Nothing changed too drastically probably from the 1800s to 1900s, technology-wise. Obviously, everything was still kind of like paper and letters. Obviously, the phone had been created and stuff like that. Yeah. But you couldn't post something on Reddit, do you know what I mean? And like 8,000 people believing you. So, all these military generals and scientists and that were confirming that they'd worked at bases and stuff like that where these unexplained incidents had happened, of where nuclear weapons had shut off after this thing had came over it. Nuclear weapons had been armed after these things had came over it. I think there was an incident in Russia, I believe, where one guy was sitting there and then, one of these unidentified flying objects came along, and then like next thing you know, there was like 2 nuclear warheads were about to go off, and it was like I really don't want to like start a war that wipes us off the face of the planet.
There was a thing actually. There was you got these nuclear bases, and there was I don't know if they were all in America, but I'm pretty sure there was one in the UK, and there was that day there were things where Russia was a little bit. Tense. They were kind of they weren't sure whether there was going to be a Cold War or what was going to happen, and they thought, well, they didn't know whether they were going to load these weapons or not, but they had the weapons there ready to go, and they were all docked, they were all ready. Yeah, and all you really needed to do was just press the button.
Yeah. One call from Kennedy, and it's like it's on.
Yeah, so
it's on, everybody.
So like they seen this, they all had like their buttons were all ready to go, and all of a sudden they all just fail. Yeah, every single one failed, and there was either 1 or 2 identified flying objects just literally right outside the base, and it was just there for like half an hour, just sitting there. Yeah. And there's pictures of this, and they called up every other base saying, "Is your nukes okay?" No, ours are offline. Why? I don't know. We don't know. We can't figure it out. But there's a weird object in the sky, and this is every single base. So there's
that's totally how that conversation would go. Is are your nukes okay? Oh my god, not the nukes.
Well, no, because they didn't know if anything was going to happen
right?
Or not.
Because what a disaster would be, like for example,
if you're going to press fire and all you're left is with your dick in your hands.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, if that.
Yeah. So like, I don't know if there was 1 or 2. There was definitely a craft anyway, but
there is a general consensus from like the people like Stephen Greer and that there would be an intervention of sort if we did decide to press the big red button, so to speak. Don't want to say aliens, whatever these beings or other civilizations are, would step in, and because they've shown that they have this power to basically disarm us, in the event of I don't know, America and Russia or America, one of these superpowers has to go with the other, and then because it brings all of us into it, really, isn't it? Like as soon as one of these weapons are going to be used next time, because there was a crazy graph in this documentary. So the first nuclear explosion happened in 1945, which was the Manhattan Project, and then obviously they used the 2 bombs in Hiroshima and Nagasaki to end the war with Japan and all that kind of stuff. But from 1945 to I believe it was 1990. So the height of the Cold War, the end of the Cold War, coming into this kind of era that we're in now, there's been 2,000 nuclear explosions on this planet.
Wow.
Because obviously the testing and stuff like that. So
It's crazy, yeah.
like, because it has like this barometer and it just goes up slowly, and then America are sitting right at the top. Like, you know, they're always talking stuff about like, North Korea and all that. And then I think it's China. We're quite we're up there as well. We're, you know, Britain's always the kind of one that's like, oh god damn it, like,
You just have to follow what everybody else is doing.
It's like we kind of started all this stuff.
You're kind of fly with the crows, get shot with them.
Well, that's it. Yeah.
But you've got to think, like, that has to contribute to like some of the natural disasters you see now, like flooding and fires and all this kind of stuff. Like 2,000. Like, if you look at the destruction that happened in Nagasaki and Hiroshima, that took what, generations for it to kind of re-acclimatize. And there was also a war story I was hearing. You ever familiar with the channel Infographics?
I think I've heard of that channel before. It's on YouTube.
So yeah, it's got like a blue background and that, and they always go on about like different stuff, like what would happen if you were called into a draft, or you know, lots of history and stuff like that. And they were talking about General Douglas MacArthur, and he got put in charge of the Korean War, right? So the Korean War was the Americans, the South Koreans, and against the North Koreans and the Chinese. And the Chinese then ended up coming. You know, China is a massive amount of land, and it's got a massive population. So just on that alone is going to make it a military force. Obviously now they're a superpower, and they have, you know, like all the technology and that they've got now as well. But they were helping the North Koreans, or reinforcing the North Koreans. And this is where I think we kind of got a bit seduced by the atom bomb, right? We kind of thought it was our answer to everything then, because General Douglas MacArthur wanted to drop 5 atom bombs on the border between China and North Korea. And I think it was Harry Truman that was president at the time, was like, you do realize that will make that amount of land like uninhabitable for like 300 years. And he was like, yeah, but we'll win the war, you know? Like, but that's how crazy it's got, right?
Yeah.
And even like this kind of even relates to, would the government like lie to you, or would the state lie to you about something that had, I mean, like, you know about. I was reading we're kind of branching off here, but it does relate into the point I'm about to make. I was reading a book on it was one of Philip Carlo's books. It was on the Night Stalker. You've probably seen the documentary on Netflix and that, you know, the serial killer. But it's not actually anything to do with him. But in his early life, he grew up in a place near Nevada where they were testing more nuclear weapons after World War II. Because, like I said, we started thinking, ooh, that can end a war in days.
That's where that was probably happening in Area 51.
Yeah, exactly. And he was the author was saying that the government actually had to pay out compensation because a lot of babies and that lived
surrounding areas of like
became deformed because of the amount of radiation that would just blow over the city from the testing sites. And you know, that got covered up for years until they finally got proved that that was what was going on, and they had to pay all the people that suffered consequences of that. But yeah,
that's crazy.
I mean, see Area 51. No, the government actually had to buy more land over around there because I think it was like 1990 or something when Bob Lazar told everybody about Area 51.
Yeah,
they kind of went, oh, okay, now we're gonna need more land so people can't see what we're doing, because you could get closer to it, much closer back then. Like Bob managed to get it S4 and stuff. Now you wouldn't be able to get anywhere near it. Nowhere near it.
Because that got highlighted when there was that whole ridiculous thing.
We're going to storm Area 51. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They were like, they can't stop all of us. And I was like, they probably can.
Well, I just thought it was great where it was the guys from the film Paul, you know.
Yeah.
Like both of them, they done that thing on Facebook. It was like, we're coming to get you, Paul.
That got so ridiculous. Like, people started making meme ones like Square going seagulls outside George Square and stuff like that. And if you come Square go with them here, they're absolutely, well, they're not so bad now, but.
No, they are. They're just always horrible.
They're always
horrible flying rats.
That thing, I mean, do you know how you're talking about back in World War II and stuff? I mean, there's that. You boys probably heard of Roswell crash.
Yeah, I was literally of that in my notes here.
Talk about that. Too. Yeah, I mean, that was 1947, wasn't it? So, I mean, that's not
like
long.
The first one that everyone gravitates to.
Yeah.
When you bring up UFOs, right? It
was a weather balloon, according to them. Yeah.
And then they ended up, when they officially said what it was, because I think it was Rockefeller put pressure on Clinton to release something about UFOs. I was like, okay, what do you want to know? And he's like, the Roswell incident. And then they were like, oh, it was actually a weapon. No, not a weapon. It was a surveillance balloon that we were going to set. this is so ridiculous. They were going to make a hot air balloon and put microphones on it and fly all the way to Russia to spy on the Soviets. It's like, that seems very foolproof that you've thought about, very original, right?
Yeah, well, that was their secret program, Mogul. That's what they called it. That's what they called it.
That's
it was,
right, yeah.
And
Mogul.
the farmer...
Sorry, it took me a while to find my actual notes. That's why I was like, right, hold on. I know I've got these notes somewhere.
But that's why the CIA was created.
Somewhere. Yeah, exactly. Like
1947, you go back and you look at when it was created. It was all created to hide this whole thing.
Yeah.
Because there's a few debates on what happened with it. Because, the evening of July 8th, 1947, like you say, the official statement was, we have captured a flying saucer. But the next day, the official statement from the AAF was weather balloon, New Mexico's saucer.
Yeah.
Obviously, as we know now, then they later on still tried to claim it a different story, saying, it was our secret project Mogul. It's madness.
There was a guy that I watched a thing, and Stephen Greer was interviewing him, and it's a whole disclosure thing. It's called Disclosure Project, and he worked for a funeral directors. He was and he went there and he picked up what he says was the extraterrestrial body. Yeah. And there was only one that he could really take because the other ones were mangled. And he said that he was saying about the way they looked, what they had on the end of their fingers, sort of like they only had like one organ, so everything was just on one thing. And he said, but the guy doesn't have any motive to lie, really. Yeah. You can tell he's a working man. He's a normal guy.
Is that the Marcel family? Is he a member of that family?
I don't know.
I think the farmer in the Roswell incident actually came out and said that he was coerced into saying that it was the balloon story when he was like, no, that was alien aircraft. But they said to me, look, we're the state. You're a farmer, so no one's going to care about you going missing or whatever.
Exactly.
Because the other thing which made me laugh was after they'd done this, it was Secret Project Mogul. It was 3 years after that, the AAF stated that they were testing parachutes with dummies. So that's what they knew. But these dummies were life-size, and this comes to the argument of what you've just said, of what they pulled out this craft was a tiny living... It
was like 3-4 feet.
Yeah, it was like a tiny living organism.
Like a human child, right?
And it's like a life-size dummy isn't 3 to 4 foot. Like if you think of a crash dummy... Yeah. That thing's massive. It's almost like between at least 5 and 6 foot, But it's just, and what they said, what that Jesse Marcel family stated was when this organism that they seen within this craft was 100% from out of this world. It was unworldly. It was never seen anything like it before in their life. But when all this got tidied up, there was an argument of what actually happened with the debris. A lot of them were thinking, the local forces came in, cleared it all, took all the debris away because it was out of this world. They'd never seen materials or construction like this, so they were like, well, we want to know. But then the other argument was the guy actually put it down the well. Put it down the well, which then led later on in life for some guy to develop severe arthritis, and his whole hand, it looks like he's got like little parts of elephantitis. And he later died from it, and then they took samples from that well rather recently, and it was still testing positive for really high levels of, as they call it, aluminum.
Aluminium.
Yeah.
So see, if you look at the ground on where one of these things would have hit, you would see a patch in the grass or the mud or whatever because of what radiation and as you say, like.
And let's be honest, they're not putting that much security up for a balloon with microphones.
No.
They don't even care if someone else gets their hands on that. What are they going to do with it?
It's also funny
record people
in the 1950s, because technology did explode in the 1950s. Everything got computerized. I mean, we had fiber optics, we had night vision. That's some severe.
Helicopters were probably made that decade.
But this is all not long after all this, kind of hush hush cover up kind of stuff happened. No one knows what's going on. No one knows where it's all went. What actually happened? And then boom, we're flying. Well. Yeah, we're not far from flying about. I mean, the White brothers or whatnot, they done the how did they describe?
Because you've got to think, once they might not fully understand the way this technology works, but they must have.
They've had outside help.
Our technology better from looking at stuff like that.
Well, it's either that or we've copied from what we've seen.
We can reverse engineer certain things to a certain extent.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Only things that we can sort of
understand how they work.
Get all the smartest people on this now. Mm-hmm. Try and see what this is doing. Yeah, you're right. I mean, 100%.
Because it asks a lot of questions. Because in such a short period of time, boom, all these things came out, and they were incredible. Like going back to what you're saying with the biometric scanner. Mm-hmm. All these major advancements, they're crazy, and they came out of nowhere. I'm sorry, it's not as if you stockpile these in a warehouse and say, right, guys, we're going to do this one today, and we're going to do that one. We're just going to come out with it all.
Even with aircraft, like military aircraft, a lot of cool things were made in the 50s. Yeah, you know, like I'm pretty sure, like, remember the Americans had the F-14 Tomcat? Yeah, it's like my favorite jet, the one Top Gun, right? That was, I'm pretty sure that was built in the 50s. It was started being built in the 50s.
Yeah. Because the manufacturing just went through the roof, because America and Russia were like, oh, it's on. Like, they were like, literally, we're anticipating a war, and they both realized they were very good at, I mean, that's how we beat Nazi Germany, right? We just out-manufactured them. So they might have had better technology, but we had like 50 more tanks. They're one. So they just got overwhelmed by numbers in the end. And that was what America and Russia both kind of realized, and that's why they got paranoid about each other, because they were like, what if they were going to try and take over? Yeah. You know what I mean?
What's crazy is how mental would it have been, though, because if you look at in World War II, they were only just sort of figuring out how to work with a radar. Yeah. Just. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right? And then like, say for an example, for the F-14 Tomcat that was released in the 70s, it all of a sudden had really good
everything built in
radar basically into the plane. So there's 100%. There was 100% that they got technology from there and was able to do something quicker with it. Yeah,
or apply it to our own technology. Yeah.
Well, I mean, look at stealth aircraft now.
Oh yeah, exactly.
If you even after this, I'll even show you a video on YouTube. It's an F-22 Raptor. It's a American Air Force jet, and this thing is literally, you know, it's like a normal plane would turn and stuff. This thing's going up, and it's been able to flip like this.
Oh right, okay.
That's not.
Yeah.
You can't. That's not.
That's
normal.
not like a natural progression of what we've managed to learn from ourselves.
No, that's not normal, like, aircraft maneuver. Yeah. Like, that's obviously came from somewhere else. So.
Yeah. Another point that I thought was really interesting, because humanity, let's just be honest, we have to kind of agree with this, is a species of narcissists, right? Yeah. And what Stephen Greer was saying was, there's also a kind of cynical view that an alien discovery would hurt our ego as a species, of like being the only species or the most evolved one.
Yeah, because we do like to. We're ignorant like that. We basically think that if there is intelligent life out there, it's going to be thicker than what we. Not as intelligent as we are. We have to be.
We are the dominant species. Yeah.
So
which also comes across in what you guys are saying. Like, everyone just wants to blow them up as soon as they're within reach.
Do you get, like? I'm a big fan of Brian Cox. I think he's great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like the way he explains things and stuff, and he's really good. But like, when you say to him, about aliens and stuff, he's kind of like, they'll just be like little bacteria bits on a planet. That would be the only thing if it's got water. And I'm thinking, nah.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think you're a lot more intelligent than that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think maybe I don't know if they're just told to say that or not. But it's almost like it's like an ignorant thing. It's like, come on, it's like they'll be way more smarter than we would be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's stupid to think that we would be the only people in the universe.
Like, they've literally shut off the most powerful destructive thing we've ever made as a species by hovering over it.
I mean, sometimes, like, when you think of things like this and about that, you gotta go, like, you can go well back in time where like old school religions, like Ethiopia have these temples which from ground level you don't, well, they're not even temples, they're actual churches, but you don't know they're there until you walk up to where it's actually been dug into the ground.
Yeah.
So the ground rock has been designed to be this church. And the story, I can't remember what prophet, I'm actually quite annoyed I've forgotten his name, but he was one of the kings of Ethiopia. He apparently had workers 24/7. So his humans would work during the day, and then angels because the only way that he could describe them was angels would come down and do the work at night. And this is where I wanted to link later on with pretty much a lot of religion now is saying you can believe in God and extraterrestrials, because a lot of people are now starting to think, well, maybe these gods were extraterrestrials. So all these angels are extraterrestrials. They're just looking like us, essentially. Like going back to when I was saying about wanting to be enlightened and move on to the next stage or the next plane or whatever. Well,
one of the things that I found interesting that Stephen Greer said was that some of the people that he spoke to and some of the quotes that he quotes from them, like, we can't have people thinking, I think it was a guy from Zurich or something like that. You might be familiar with them. Who I'm on about? He had like white hair. He was like he wanted to hear Stephen Greer's story, and then he was like, you can't say this, but it's not what you think. And then he said something along the lines of, people can't know about this extraterrestrial stuff because they've got to believe in Jesus is coming back or something. Like, it was something mental. Do you know what I mean? It was like something like, you think.
Yeah.
It's quite out there now, but there's such an argument for it, and it's the same thing with the Darwin, with evolution. People are now starting to argue that evolution isn't completely by chance.
Yeah.
That there's got to have been some kind of outside source to, for example, make us. Because if you think, I get it, and you can see some similarities between primates and us, and you can understand where Darwin was going. I mean, I don't fully understand all of it. I don't know all the genetics behind it, but apparently it can be somewhat proven that it can't be 100% random. Something had to have been specifically done.
We had to have been helped.
I mean, something had to be manipulated, because we didn't just go from living in the forest to coming in here and talking absolute nonsense for 2 hours in a podcast. You know what I mean?
It's crazy things going way back when, where there's monoliths. There's an area. Once again, I can't remember the area now. I'm really terrible for this. But that's
ancient world and
there's a lot of like monoliths which were set out essentially like a landing pad. Now this was just a massive square area. That's all it was, and all that they actually stated it was for these gods or these visitors to come down and land and visit Earth. Right. That's literally the only reason they built this. But then when on the documentary I was watching, when you actually see the size of the bricks or the monoliths that they were using, they're huge. Like, they're twice the height of me, and that's them lying flat. So it's twice the height of me, and you're talking it could be the length of this room.
Even the stuff
huge
like
things. How are you going to move that?
Well?
And it's not the bottom layer.
Yeah.
Like, these big ones aren't the bottom layer. So they're on top of smaller carved brick. I'm sorry, no human.
Yeah. I was literally going to say,
no human moves that.
About the pyramids that you just say there. I mean, see if you go down into the tombs and when you go down into the pyramid itself.
Yeah.
And you can go underground and stuff like that, and all the they did all their art, paintings and stuff. And there was like on the space radar packet of crisps. You've got that alien head. It's literally, that's all it is. That doesn't look like a human head. I'm sorry. And then they're doing little UFO paintings as well. I was like, that was in ancient Egypt.
Yeah.
I mean, the only form of technology they had was sandals.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly.
I mean, even then, probably.
But then that also goes back to when we say that, we've kind of forgotten what may have been available to the old world as such. Like, technology's forgotten, so on and so forth. But in a way, we've also got to think of stuff we've got. They did not have.
Yeah,
they did not have it.
Japan, which is one of the most
given to them. Like, advancements were given to them some way.
I mean, there's
some form, definitely.
I mean, do you think loads of humans could actually build the pyramids?
No,
because
Japan, which is one of the most advanced countries in the world, tried to recreate pyramid building with modern day technology.
I saw that
and failed terribly.
Yeah.
There's no way.
It's got to be. I mean, it has to be. I have to have help from somewhere else. Yeah. And I think maybe there could have been a time where us as a species were here before, and as you say, we went elsewhere.
Yeah.
And then we came back, and they've sort of started that again. And I feel like maybe, I don't know. I mean, I'm not sitting here saying that I believe this and all this, but I mean, there's a very good chance that we could be like, there's a creator.
Yeah.
And they're just sort of put us here.
Well, yeah, exactly. In the Prometheus, is it Prometheus?
I think, I've heard that one before. Prometheus.
And then you get the follow on from that, Covenant. It's like they actually, well, in Prometheus, they kind of find out that they've found their creator as such. Like they have found this other civilization that they are directly genetically like exact to. So we came from them, and they're all about like, well, at the end of the film, essentially, the girl's like, well, I want to know why you came to kill us. Kind of style. And once again, going back to why do we just hate everything that we don't know? So, you know,
we get frustrated.
I keep thinking I've got a mic here. I'm used to the Xbox thing. I'm like, that. What's going on?
But you just mentioned the Covenant. That's like the enemy of Halo.
Here we go.
Gaming again. But like, no, but I fully kind of, I've always sort of had a feeling that, you know, that we have to have came from elsewhere.
Yeah.
Because I think, you know, just the odd evolution sort of thing that we get taught at school.
Yeah.
I think that's a bit too
conditioning kind of mentality.
Even,
really.
I would think actually all this kind of stuff of us coming from elsewhere is probably more believable than we came from apes.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, some of the stuff we've like just been speaking about is actually in a book by Erich von Daniken. He's an author of Chariots of the Gods, and he's went around the world and visited all these sites to do with, like, you know when you get crop circles.
Yeah.
Well, there's something in Nazca in Peru where you basically, when you fly over the desert, it's just vast desert, where you fly over it, it essentially looks like runway roads.
Right.
But these things are like an airport. And when they actually, it was good in the documentary because they put an airport right beside the actual photo of what this guy's got. And it literally looks like all the separate things coming off from a runway. But that thing's been there for years, and it's gigantic. Like the area it takes up is huge. But no one's there. No one's there to go. It's just in the middle of nowhere.
I wonder why it's been kept.
Well, exactly. And he also reports findings in Utah, Colorado, Arizona, and New Mexico. But it's all cave paintings of what people try to like state are gods.
Another t-shirt, Arizona.
But there's one of the things that came up, which I thought was quite interesting, where they mentioned the Thunderbird. Like all these, all the ancient civilizations always talked about this aircraft coming in. It breathed fire. It looked like some kind of bird, and the noise was incredible. Hence why they ended up naming it the Thunderbird. But that's like one of the things that was always depicted in, like, when you were going about cave paintings. A lot of these things were always depicted. And you know, when you get like the Native Americans actually have like a totem as such, which is dedicated to like what they call the Thunderbird, or some kind of like firebird.
Yeah. And
they actually link that to what their ancestors believe about the space. It's a group of natives. It's like the space tribe, essentially. They believe in these spacewalkers that came down. Yeah. Because there's more evidence of in Italy of paintings which actually resemble two astronauts on a rock face, and it looks like two separate people with like a dome head, and it actually looks like two astronauts, and it's crazy. Some of the stuff that was on this, I was like, wow.
Jesus.
Like, and this is going back to what you say. This is ancient civilizations. Like, all they can do is paint.
Yeah.
Like, they may not be. They can't. They've got to get the idea from somewhere. Do you know
exactly,
what I mean? Yeah. Like, it wasn't in their nature to create as such. They're not going to be there and like start like drawing a face and be like, oh, I'm going to give him teeth and make a vampire. Like that's we're able to do that because we've heard of this, and it's, you know, we've been taught. Like, these guys weren't taught any of that stuff or heard any fiction or anything. They just knew their day-to-day life.
Yeah.
So like things like that, they had to depict in some way. And like as it states, a lot of them, they link it to the stars. They don't just paint craft, but they link stars. So like there's a lot of correlation to stars which match up with things.
Sort of like, I come from here, and they're pointing to this
and it's actual
part of a galaxy somewhere, and it's like, well, okay, this is, I don't understand, but all right.
So when you copy and put it in, it's actual a star correlation that we're actually aware of, and it's like, that's absolutely crazy, you know, like that's madness.
Go back to crop circles though. I played Flight Simulator, right, and I was just in America a lot. You would be amazed the amount of crop circles that are. I mean, because the new Flight Simulator is literally like real life. It's all satellite done.
Yeah,
it's amazing. Right.
So it's like Google Maps but in a plane.
It's literally, it's literally what it is. I mean, there's nowhere you can't go.
Yeah.
Anyway. I mean, I fly around America quite a lot, and honestly, there's crop circles everywhere.
Germany's quite a big one for that, but I believe in Germany they actually do it for their own design.
Yeah.
Like their own farmers go out and try create it. But then again, some of them, when you're thinking, how do you get a perfectly circle? Like,
No.
The Germans
back
are the
in the
ultimate
day.
trolls, though, weren't
Yeah.
they? So.
well, yeah.
Do you think like stuff like the Truman Show and stuff like that? Do you think that's almost like teasing us of the possibility that thing could be like a reality?
Well, everything's just like a TV show.
Yeah.
Like,
Like
I mean,
Matrix.
that would sort of go into like the simulation
Yeah.
thing. I mean, who knows? I mean, we don't really know what's going on. I mean, you think about like on Joe Rogan, he talks about DMT a lot.
Yeah.
What are you seeing on that?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like that's accessing a part of your brain you don't.
It's almost like a key to a part of your
It's
brain.
weird.
You can't access.
It's opening
default.
a floodgate to the most intense traveling you're ever going to do from remaining stationary. it's
mental.
It's a very it's insane.
I mean,
insane stuff.
I mean, the thing
they
is,
do call it the spirit molecule. That's what they call it. They call it the spirit molecule.
Do you think that's why like psychedelics get such a bad reputation?
Because
it makes people question
because you're
norm.
seeing things you're not supposed to see.
Yeah.
Like I remember, I can't remember who it was, but when I was like a teenager, someone said to me, "Do you know like when you do drugs and stuff? Imagine that's taking the filter off of what you're supposed to see. It's kind of like as you say, like a key to unlocking
a compartment of your mind that you don't get in your default setting. Basically,
it's quite weird. I mean, nobody really has the answer to that.
Well, no, exactly. Well, because we don't know. All we can do is speculate.
Yeah.
But then, I mean, that also goes down to, like, have you ever heard the conspiracy of the president's secret book?
No.
You've never heard of that?
Is this to do with, like, his briefing on aliens?
It's to do with basically anything,
or UFOs, I should
anything like that is apparently kept in this secret little book, which basically the American presidency control. And every president is made privy to this book. Apparently. So any kind of secret to do with any of the UFO stuff that ever happened in America was always recorded and kept in this book. That's just one of the conspiracies. Obviously, no president has came forward and admitted this. But what I thought was interesting was because the presidency is very, very open to the chance of there being ETs. I'm just going to say ETs. But President Bill Clinton asked 2 questions on his first day of being brought into the presidency. And that was, who actually killed Kennedy?
And who's my assistant?
And what's hidden at Area 51? That was his only 2 questions. And obviously, you actually see him in a live, he's like doing a speech. And he goes, I don't know what's at Area 51. They haven't told me, but I want to know.
I'll tell you one thing about the president. I don't think a lot of people know about this.
I was literally about to bring this up. There's a belief that the president doesn't even get fully briefed.
No, he doesn't.
On these kind of issues.
I was going to.
I was literally just a way to say.
Which kind of brings us back to something we were talking about on episode 15 of. We were talking about. We were talking about. You ever seen that Eisenhower interview where he's kind of hinting at the whole military-industrial complex and that, and this is going to get out of control, and it will become a thing of where this privatized company that makes money off of like armies and wars and weapons and all that will have more power than actual governments itself. And like if you see all the things that have happened since like Vietnam and Iraq, Afghanistan.
Yeah.
Well, Iraq was twice, when it?
Well,
I mean, I watched this thing and the guy was saying, I used to work for this secret program in within the government, and what they would do is they would test technology, but they would also, there was something to do with like stargates and portals and stuff, and I mean, and these supposedly had been left like I'm talking thousands, like 10,000 years or something. Like they've been there for a long time.
Yeah.
And this is where we go back to the ancients, maybe some ancient civilization that was here before that are our descendants. Well, this may be where we come from, and supposedly they were able to use this, and this was a way of traveling through space, through the galaxy. So you would go through that, the Stargate, and then there would be an address. I don't know if anybody's ever seen like Stargate Atlantis. It's similar. It's exactly like that, really. And you dial in an address and you go somewhere else and wherever you need to go. And that was a way of doing it. Supposedly this guy was saying that he worked on them programs, and he was saying that the president, like say this is the ladder of security clearance. Bob Lazar had majestic clearance. So you got the ladder here. Now the president's here. So he doesn't get to see
he
half of the
doesn't
shit
know,
that you really want to.
He maybe hears a whisper, and that's as far as it goes.
Yeah, you know,
Probably not even a whisper.
supposedly he doesn't get to hear barely anything. I mean,
and if you think of the last two that have been charged with Biden and Trump, like, you know what I mean? Like, Biden would probably forget because, like, the dude. I actually feel bad for him sometimes because he's clearly in cognitive decline, right? Like, you can tell that for a while there was someone made a point of, do you think he's just putting that on to, like, get a sympathy vote? But he's not. Like, he does it way too often for it to be that. And then the reason that they, you know, obviously he's off his head, Trump, but another thing that he did was he had this whole, you know, they want a president to be a diplomat and they want him to be like this straight-faced suit guy.
Yeah.
Where Trump's like this reckless maniac that's just going to say everything. Like, cause he was the first president to mention the military-industrial complex again after Eisenhower, and he was like, "Yeah, no, like the you know how he is, right? Because he has to take credit for everything, you know?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
do you see that thing that he did like a couple months ago where like everything was going bad? He's like, and I said this would happen, and then like he keeps like taking credit for everything. Like, I don't agree with the dude on what he says in that, but I do find like the whole kind of circus of him quite funny.
He's that kind of president who was like, remember they captured this guy, and I can't remember who it was, but he was one of these leader guys.
Oh,
and,
yeah,
and he was like, he was crying like a little baby when they killed him, and I was like,
yeah, there's a comparison between like Obama talking about Osama bin Laden and that, and he was like, you know, today I instructed the United States military that, you know, caught and killed Osama bin Laden. He's like, we got him. You know, Trump was like, we got him. He was crying and everything.
Aye, like, but see the thing about I've got to give it to them though. American presidents, they look smart.
Yeah.
They can wear a suit.
Yeah.
You come to the UK and you're like, whoa, what happened there? You know, like Biden looks pretty good in his suit.
Yeah.
Then you look at our prime minister and you think your mum did not dress you.
He literally just got out of bed, mate. You know what I mean?
His hair's like static. It's like up here.
Well, do you think Boris just like wakes up and is like, what's going on today? It's like, well, fortunately, Boris, the whole country still hates you, and he's like, oh.
It's like tackling children and stuff.
I'm going to bring it back to more like, you know, like important people in America and related to ET stuff again. Do you know that two of the founding fathers reportedly also sighted extraterrestrial aircraft? And
these are
Benjamin,
the people that made the amendments for America on that.
Yeah, like Benjamin Franklin was actually one of them. He actually stated, he goes, I actually saw some form of light in the sky flying about and then disappear. Yeah. I was like, what? And in the paintings, you know that there's a really famous painting of the founding fathers, of them all there. And in the background, you can see a ladder. It's painted on clear. It's not like a sly thing. It's painted on, and it looks. People obviously back in the day were going on about, like, say, God, and they're like, you know, it's a path to God. They want us to believe in God and all this. Well, now they're saying maybe it's not. Maybe it was actually more divine intervention from ETs. Yeah. So it's like a ladder going up. And it doesn't look like a portal. It doesn't really, I don't know how to explain it. It just looks, it doesn't even look like a sun, but it looks like it's got some form of light rays coming off it on the painting. Yeah. And it's basically, a lot of people now believe that they either definitely had contact or they had some strong guidance from outer worldly intelligence.
Because a lot of people think, oh, as you said before, you know, aliens come from another planet, another, you know, billions of light years away, whatever. They could just come from another dimension.
Well, exactly. And it's this, you know? I'm going to quickly link in films. Star Wars. Star Wars, you know, it looks like you think it could be humans and all this, but it states in a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Yeah. And it's true, though. In a galaxy far, far away, we could have doppelgangers sat there doing the exact same thing that we're doing. And we would actually call them aliens because they're not on our planet.
There's a very high chance. I mean, gets into the simulation and stuff. There could be a million of us doing the same thing right now, but differently. Like you'd be grabbing the microphone, you'd be scratching your nose, I'd be grabbing the juice. Yeah, but it'd be in another dimension. It's weird when you get into it because you could be here for days and days and days talking about it.
We spoke about bending light. I mean, why not?
But yeah, I mean, yeah, it's just. It's strange when you think about it, but you know, there's no real answers to it.
Well, that's right. That is right. Because we're not. Well, if there is real answers to it, we're not privy to know.
I'm open-minded. I mean, I'd love that to be true. I'd love it. I mean, there's far more to this existence than we probably know.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, to us, we all just think that we're here. I believe that what people say is that we are meant to colonize. We're meant to go out and explore and and I'm well up for it. Like, Elon Musk, I'm coming with you, bro. Let's do this.
Yeah, he's just going to phone you up on a mobile later. Like, I watch your podcast.
I'll invest in Doge, I promise.
We up to the morning, John. Let's go.
Great podcast, by the way.
I'll give you a Tesla.
Leave that host behind.
I'll give you a company Tesla.
So one of the things that Stephen Greer brings up is like the conscious element of it, and saying that consciousness is basically the key that we can actually contact. Because he does these groups, which, you know, when I first watched it, kind of seemed like it was on the, you know, kind of, you know, quote unquote hippie kind of side of things, but bringing up like consciousness and telepathy and stuff like that, and they go to like these areas where they kind of almost summon like UFOs. You know, I know that sounds really sinister, but there's like all these pictures of that, like not spirits, but like some, you know, figure behind someone and all that. It's not a camera guy, but
I'm guessing is that only in certain areas?
No, they go all over the world. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, they go that they do it. I mean, it's like he looks like he can go do that himself. Doesn't need people to do it with him, but there's an app you can download and it teaches you how to actually meditate. I don't have it. I wasn't paying the price you wanted for it. Yeah. But what it does is it teaches you to meditate in a certain way, and I think you've got to be even at least half an hour into the meditation.
Yeah, it's like a silent state of consciousness or something like that.
Before you can access it. And what he says is what you do is you try and contact something, I don't know, whatever it is, and then you sort of show them where you are. And then so it's like, you know, like on Google Earth when you got the mouse and you pull it right back and it goes right out to space. Then you zoom right back in, you go right on your location again. It's sort of like that. You sort of tell them where you
portray your own image of what you. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, and then they can and then I'm not being funny, but that things that you see on it's quite strange. Like all of a sudden they just appear. What is that? I mean, that's not drones. It's not aircraft. It's not. That doesn't. And how bright it gets. Yeah. And then it goes real dim and
spiritual. That's telepathy. That's.
It's certainly something. I mean, I'd love to be a part of it at least just to see if it works.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, sorry. The reason I was asking about if that was related to areas is there's one I made a little note of a few constructions. We spoke about the pyramids briefly already. I mentioned the Nazca lines. Obviously the Mayan temples. You know, when they actually found the actual like crystal skull. Like you know how there's that Indiana Jones and the Curse of the Crystal Skull. I thought that was based on absolute hooey. This crystal skull was actually real, and the belief behind that was it was used to communicate with whoever on the other side. But the most interesting one I thought I seen was the Serpent Mound. Now this is once again going back to like the settlers, the first settlers to go over to the new lands, and obviously there's a lot of like Native American burial mounds, and they assumed that this Serpent Mound was one of them. But this Serpent Mound is literally, it's on a plateau, so it's higher up than anything else. You don't understand what it is when you're stood at it. You can only actually take it in from the air. So it's one of those things that they go back to kind of crop circles and think apparently this thing was a marker, but it's also right on the edge of a big meteor crash, one of the biggest ones that kind of happened in that area, and it is literally right on the edge of it. And apparently it's like a magnetic kind of force, and birds, because they've got some element in their head, it messes with them because they normally feed off like north and things like that, magnetic poles. And it was back in the day, you can imagine thousands upon thousands of birds, flying around like a 5-mile area constantly because they don't know which way they're going, because it's all like magnetically charged. And they used to believe that at the tip of this Serpent Mound, it was used as a point of them to come and essentially harvest energy. So that's how they were harvesting their fuel or like resources that they needed, apparently. Yeah, that's once again, like I said, I can't help myself.
Now the common day bird's like a seagull taking an empty crate of stout out of a bin or something like that. You know what I mean?
See, like there's this place in Antarctica. I watched this thing. I don't know if there's any truth in it or bad, but it's like there's like a massive like gap. It's like a hole almost.
Yeah.
There's this might sound wacko, but they were trying to say that there was like another sort of, it's like another world almost.
Yeah.
That there's different creatures and different maybe different races or something that live there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it sounds
That sounds mental,
a bit batshit mental, honestly, but that they were saying that supposedly because you never get to see what is actually in there.
Yeah.
Because see, if you actually go into Google Earth or something, try and look in there,
Mm-hmm.
it's always clouded over, or it's always sort of like blocked. You know, they can obviously, like, if you zoom into Area 51, you don't see anything.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
There's
So,
like certain places that are off limits.
There's
like,
certain places that obviously they can edit and they can sort of thingy
I
something
think Google
out.
got sued for that one time. Was it with the SAS headquarters or something they had there? And they were like, "That's a no-go."
See, I like it when they find areas like this, because in some of them they find, like on my one with the meteor crash, they found iridium, and that's obviously predominantly found in space.
Yeah.
So it's like one of those things, like iridium. I'm not big on my chemicals or whatnot, or like the what's that table?
Periodic table.
The periodic table, thank you. I'm sat there thinking like chemical table. No, that's not it. So, yeah, the periodic
Chemical
table.
tables
Like,
like
I'm not
some out of
100%
Breaking Bad.
sure if like iridium is actually from here. If most of it's in space, I mean, did it originally come from here? And I mean, it goes back to me saying like they come here to harvest something.
Yeah.
And iridium, uranium, and plutonium, they are 3 very dangerous substances.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
like. And also to do with that one, with my serpent mound, it was aligned in a constellation, going back to what we said, with the stars, and it matched up with the star sign Draconis.
Oh.
Apparently, once again, some more information just about that.
Yeah.
So.
Talking about the periodic table, that element 115 that Bob was always talking about. I mean, he was talking about that in 1989.
Yeah.
Right? It didn't get put on the periodic table until the mid-2000s.
I was going to ask it, because obviously I didn't watch that one, so I was listening to what you're saying and trying to like soaking it up.
Yeah.
But this element 115, did you say?
Yes, 115
or
115, whatever you want to call it.
There's a name for it.
Did they ever state where it actually came from, or are they just claiming it came from?
Well, they're claiming it came from them.
Yeah.
So it's obvious, but Bob reckons that these craft were found in an archaeological dig.
Mm-hmm.
Now, probably because if I mean, this planet's pretty old, so I mean,
exactly.
think about how many things we haven't found yet.
Yeah, exactly. We're still finding like dinosaur bones.
Exactly. I mean, we know more about space than we do about our ocean.
Exactly. Yeah, that's
What's
a great
in the
point.
ocean?
Oh yeah.
You know.
And apparently we all came from the ocean as well. So it's one of those things. Why don't we know more about it?
Yeah.
Still stuff like the megalodon and that. They still believe that could be a thing as well.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, so Bob's saying that about the thing. So he's saying that they obviously came from them, but I'm pretty sure they said that obviously they've created element 115 as a man-made element. They've managed to do.
Do you reckon they came here to mine more of it or find something similar?
I don't know, but I think it might be created in space. The reason I say that is because we are trying so hard to get it stable.
We can't get anywhere.
We can't get it stable.
So it's not used to this environment.
It's not used to us. But, well, the one that Bob had is useful to us. But the one that we made isn't, because we can't
replicate
it's not stable. It doesn't work.
I mean,
so he might be the only person that's ever managed to stabilize it.
Well, it's because he was given a true source of it, wasn't
Well, no, it was already stable.
Oh, it was already stable, okay.
Yeah, like it comes stable.
Yeah, like proper high grade stuff. Essentially, that's what he was given. And then
he
we're
said
creating low grade.
Yeah, he said it's made up of like little rings, and then it's made up of little rings, and then it goes into like a triangle, and then it's built up of that. That's how it works. But I don't know. Supposedly, we're spending millions and millions and millions of dollars trying to get a stable.
You can understand why, because like you say, the amount of energy that is produced is tenfold, 100%.
Energy. Yeah,
that's just crazy. That is madness. But then again, it's going to go back to big companies are going to go out of pocket. So even if they do figure it out, will we ever know?
Exactly.
You know, someone is going to lose money on that. The electric board, you ain't creating that. No.
I mean, we're
Scottish Power for you, like.
Yeah.
No, not today.
We're talking about technology though that would be able to run the planet.
Yeah, exactly.
And
cities.
stop it.
Someone's going to own it, and someone's going to extort it. You know, it happens. Everything has a cost here nowadays.
We're all
everything costs something.
We're selfish as a species, right?
We don't share nothing. Yeah.
We almost like, in a weird way, we kind of like the idea of us having things that others don't.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I do sometimes.
Like, you know, we're all kind of like that. Like, if you get something like a new phone or something, and it's like, I don't know, it's released like a couple months ago or something, and no one else can get it, and you can see someone wants it.
I was like that with the Xbox.
Yeah. No, but it's like a real thing though, right? It's like something that must be built into us as, you know, as a makeup, you know?
I think what's built into us is like
it's our alpha side, that's what it is.
Yeah, we want to
It's
innovate as
side.
well though. We want the best thing, the new thing, all the time.
Yeah.
And it's just
You
like
get people who want it more than others, like
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like that Lord of the Rings kind of thing where he has the rings and no one else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
it's like that.
yes.
Yeah.
That's kind of what we're doing with flying saucers.
What were we talking about that before? Oh yeah, how much energy that it can take and stuff. And I mean, this is technology where you know you wouldn't need a car.
Well, exactly.
I mean, you can literally probably just go from here to Australia. You could probably just walk through a door and you could be there because it creates that sort of.
Yeah, exactly. Stuff
I mean,
like
you
air.
can bend things.
Yeah,
So can I borrow that bit of paper a sec?
Yeah.
So like, say like for an example, if you take a line from here to here, right? You're going from here to here. We have to travel that line.
Yeah,
But if you've got energy and you can spend it,
and you go straight.
you go straight through it. So
It's like point to point.
point to
essentially.
point, literally in seconds.
Yeah, that would absolutely like kill like.
That's
That's probably why
blows
Branson
my
wants to
mind
go
a
to
little
space
bit,
and no one else can go because he knows that his airline will get shut down if it all gets figured out.
But it's mad. You can't even comprehend that sort of technology.
Yeah.
And if it gets into the wrong hands, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and it always does, right? The first hands are always the wrong hands because we're just talking about that whole kind of complex that we have of, you know, oh my God, look, I've got this, no one else has it.
But what would need to happen is we would need to come together as a new world order, and instead of being like, there's Russia, there's China, there's America, if we came together as a civilization,
It's like a world kind of
things might. I mean, maybe that. If you're talking about aliens, maybe they're the ones that are saying they're not ready yet.
Yeah.
You know, if they came together and stopped fighting, yeah, okay, maybe
they're going to be waiting a long time.
I'd be waiting a long time for that.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, it is like it's an observer thing. If you're observing us, and all we are doing is killing the planet, killing each other, I get
they're not worthy.
Yeah, I get it. And I mean, if you go, once again, just going back to what I was saying way back when in like 900 BC and things, when all these people are talking about gods and angels.
I thought you said that's what you were saying.
No.
I didn't realise you were so old, man.
No, so like, you've just totally thrown me off now.
Sorry,
like,
I apologise. 900 BC.
Yeah, it's gone. It belongs back in that time. It's
Well
fine.
done, Ryan.
I do apologise.
Yeah, but I mean, it's true.
Maybe I
though.
was here to censor you.
It's true though. It would be mad. It would be absolutely mad. I mean, can you imagine just? You don't even need to take the car anywhere.
Yeah.
It'd be like the Jeffersons. You remember the old school cartoon? You just like stand on a little teleporting pad.
Yeah.
That would be mad.
I mean, we're getting quite good though with tech. I mean, artificial intelligence is going to be a big thing soon. I mean, Elon Musk's already created a car that can drive you anywhere you want to go. It's driverless.
That's like iRobot.
You know?
Yeah. Even like they're going to rely on technology to perform surgeries and stuff like that. I think like 80% of that good's going to be done within like the next 20 years, which is pretty nuts when you think about it.
Well, I really hope there's no cyber hacks. You know that.
Yeah. You imagine that, like you go in for like an appendix removal, you come out with a new face or something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like face off.
That's the ultimate prank.
I think Musk doing nothing called Neuralink.
Yeah, I've seen him.
about that?
Yeah, he's like testing on like pigs and stuff like that.
And it's going well supposedly.
What is this?
It's basically the chip in the brain that makes you an. Basically, it's going to make you a cyborg.
So what? Like
us and technology will be one.
So for an example, you have your phone in your hand. You watch YouTube. You go on Twitter. You go on Facebook. Whatever.
The phone will be.
You can do it in your head.
So it's gonna be like telepathy with your
computer.
So yeah.
That's gonna be insane.
So, but
where did that come from, huh?
so you'd be able to like contact lenses. So imagine you connected them both. So like say you're walking
your contact
down.
lens would like be your screen essentially, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I mean like so like say you're walking down ancient Rome and you sort of think to yourself, what did this look like back in the day?
Yeah.
So they would literally just sort of you'd be walking through it, but like virtual reality.
It'd be like your imagination would be made redundant, right? Because you're just gonna get to see Pretty much, which is it is a shame, right? Because there is imagination's a good thing as well as
This is where the internet turns into like data stream or something.
Yeah,
but since you mentioned Rome, did you know the Vatican is actually an extremely strong supporter of for the search for
they did
ET.
mention that. Yeah,
Like I thought that was absolute madness.
yeah, considering like they're quite rigid about other things. Or
Well, it's all
just the
about
way
you
to
can't
say
take
that-
any power away from God because it takes it away from the from the church.
I was literally just the ways.
So that's what I mean when I mentioned about that reverend who actually came out. He was in Rome. He was actually like a very respected reverend. He's high up, and he actually came out and said, "Oh, you can support God and support the thought of extraterrestrial life." And they ended up basically backtracking and saying, "Oh yeah, this is a possibility. That is a possibility," but they still didn't cave in and say God doesn't exist.
Yeah,
they're still there saying saying like God is there, but they're not even saying that they're referring to the alien as God. They're just saying it's God. God is a person of higher knowledge, of higher being.
Yeah.
See if you
kind of stuck to their guns with that one.
see if you think about the Bible,
Yeah.
right, or anything like that, any religious, it doesn't matter what religion you are.
The
But
ark's a cool one. I'll talk about that after.
yeah, I mean, if you think about like if I told you a story, and then you told John the story, and then John told his friend the story, and then his friend told. Eventually,
there's going to be changes.
There's going to be changes. There's going to be things that are different. So if you think about religion in a sense of the Bible,
Yeah.
how many things of that story is
Was censored or changed.
What is it? I mean, what is the God? What is the, what was the ark? What was? Do you know what I mean? Like long stories like that. Like what was it? Like is it? It's not as clear, I don't think, as people.
Yeah, well, you're right. It's because all of it is just essentially depictions. I mean, some things were carved onto like clay tablets, but all these things have been like buried, and it kind of goes back to, pretty sure it's the Book of Mormon. You ever heard of the Book of Mormon?
This is the musical the South Park creators.
No, this is an actual. This is an actual general like religious artifact.
The actual Book of Mormon, not the
actual
Broadway musical.
Book of Mormon. But this thing was like, he told him to go and mine the gold from here.
Yeah.
Like, how does this person way back then know that gold is there?
Yeah.
Like how does he know that material exists?
Yeah.
Tells him about it. He tells him to go there, get this, and he crafts. It's a book. It's all printed on gold, and this is like a massive religious artifact. And once again, they're always like proof, it's proof. And then you get like, there's another one. They do a pilgrimage at least every couple of years essentially, and they've got to go to this area, which once again is in perfect alignment with the sun, the moon, everything. But during the winter solstice, the summer solstice, it's in perfect position. I can't remember. It's in Mecca. Sorry. It's literally a square, and it's apparently one of the most religious things you can get there. And they go on a pilgrimage where they basically circle it 7 times, and I think that's something to do with representing the rotation of the Earth. Once again, going back to how the hell did he know to place that thing there to give it such more substance?
Yeah.
It's once again some form of intervention that they believe. And there's a black rock on the corner of it which they reckon came from space, because it's no one can go up and chip off a bit and go no one's going to let you do that. That's never going to be allowed. No. But yeah, they went, and apparently this is a very religious rock, because it was a meteorite, and once again they link it to belief of outer life or God.
Almost like a manipulation of our world, right?
Kind of.
Like, yeah.
But like they full on, at the moment with COVID, it did state that now what they're doing, because they used to go up and used to kiss it. That's what they used to kiss this rock. And it was the main point, because it's just on the corner. They go up, they kiss this rock, and that's like they're doing that's the main thing they want to achieve. Now it's all they've got a point and basically like say their love for it and whatnot. Yeah. But yeah, it's crazy with religion. And a big one I've got is to do, I believe it's just called the Ark, and I'm not on about the boat. Like this golden Ark, and it was always carried about. It was actually stolen a few times. It was stolen from Jerusalem and taken to the Ethiopian place I was on about, and it was stored there. But all of these all these holy places had to have the holiest of holies or something along those lines, like a really holy area of their church. And in the same area, you got King Solomon. He was the guy with the Star of David, and he used to be able to control demons, and apparently all these stories, once again, with God,
like more
good and
supernatural
evil.
powers and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but these were apparently gifts that were given, and these areas have been the same area, been taken over, different religions built something else, someone else has taken over, then the Greeks have came in, and they've built something else, and it's all in this area. So for some reason, if Christianity hated, I'm not going to go down that road. If a religion hated another religion and they wanted to actually wipe them out, they're not going to rebuild their own most religious spot in the same area. You're not going to do that.
No.
So what has brought them all to repeat history each and every time in like certain areas of the world? They come in, they take it, and then they build on top of it. There's some kind of intervention telling them like this is, because the story goes that it was God's house, and in this holiest of holies is where this ark was kept. Now this ark was apparently a gift from them, and obviously nowadays with our intelligence we depict it as that's aliens came down, given us some form of power, and obviously they wanted to protect it. And nowadays apparently it's in another Ethiopian palace, and it's guarded, but no one's allowed in. Like these guys are dressed, and some of them are quite young children, and they're full on robed, crosses on their heads, and down like all like embroidered in gold and stuff. And they look quite smart, but they full on protect that church. Jesus. And it's actually patrolled by the Ethiopians. They actually patrol the area as well.
Almost like waiting for their gods to come back.
That's what they say, that they're waiting. But it's once again, it's all to do with little plateaus. I don't get what it is about certain areas. And apparently with our world, it's to do with our ley lines. Like we have ley lines of power, don't we? I mean, hence why we have earthquakes, we have explosions. Yeah. We've got all these natural elements or something that we're not aware of that this planet essentially produces. And I reckon they knew about it, and they come down and they try to harvest it.
Funny you should say that. You know, like you get the pyramids, Atlantis, all these cool places on Earth that exist. I mean, like, what do you call it? Stonehenge.
Yeah.
All that sort of cool things. They all line up.
Yeah.
They're all on the same line.
That's what I mean. It's to do with a line of power. Yeah. That's why I forget. It's crazy.
It's cool, like, but it's strange. But
how do they know that? You know,
yeah.
Like we have metal detectors, so we can tell metal's under the ground. We don't know if it's conductive metal. We don't know if it's a combustible metal. We don't know anything else. We just know that it's registering as metal. That's all we. They know everything. We need to land here. We need to like build some sort of serpent mound, so we know where we're going. We know what this is going to supply us with, and boom. Because like I said, that serpent mound had no bodies in it. It wasn't actually even related to any native burial mound in any way. It's just full on built and shaped like that, and has been ever since it was done. And it's actually like a national landmark. They've got a path around it, but it's an interesting place. Very, very interesting place.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ryan.
That's a lot of information.
I know. The thing is, so I've realised the best way to do this is now when it's my turn, I've got my last one, the moon. That's my one, and that's it. All my other inputs been able to fit in with yours, which I'm quite happy about.
Okay. Should I take up the story about local UFO contact, perhaps?
Let's do this.
This is on my phone. I always have it not ready. I'm trying to build up some dramatic.
Keep moving this back, and I keep moving it forward because I can't sit at piece. Never comfortable, but here we go.
Right.
Blow my mind, Ryan.
Lossiemouth alien contact. Allegedly. This was a guy, English author, Cedric Allingham. Allingham recounted that on the 18th of February 1954, while on holiday near Lossiemouth, he encountered a flying saucer and communicated with its pilot by means of hand gestures and telepathy. You know, hand gestures are a new one, but telepathy is in there. The spaceman had indicated that he came from Mars and that he had also visited Venus and the Moon. As supporting evidence, Allingham took a number of blurry photographs, because obviously, you know, cameras in the 1950s are not exactly 4K you know, like,
in HD, that's for sure.
Yeah. Of the saucer and one of its occupants. Pictured from the rear, he also claimed that a fisherman named James Duncan had witnessed the event from a nearby hill, providing a signed statement that was reproduced in the book. Coming soon after the dramatic claims of the contactee, George Adamansky, I always have to say the strangest of names when I'm researching. Like, Allingham's book attracted because the dude went on to make a book about this. I can't actually remember that. There's some flying saucers. I'll link it to you if any of you want to read a book about alien contact.
Why not? Why not?
Allingham's book attracted a fair amount of popular media attention. Time devoted a short piece to it early in 1955, commenting that Allingham's photograph of the Martian looked very like a crofter with galluses flapping. The writer added the mystery was finally unravelled in 1986 as a result of research by Christopher Allen and Stuart Campbell, which was published in the skeptical 4-team journal Maganaria in Flying Saucers from Moors. They argued that the prose of Allingham's book showed significant similarities to the writing of the famous astronomer Patrick Moore. So they're saying that he basically copy and pasted.
The guy's story,
Thanks to further inquiries to Allingham's publisher, they were able to trace a friend of Moore named Peter Davis, who admitted that he had written the book with another individual whom he declined to name. Davis also claimed that the talk of the UFO club given by Allingham had in fact been given by himself while wearing a false mustache. Moore had admitted to being invited by Lord Dowding. This kind of goes on. So basically, they said it was proven to be a hoax. Now, this guy did disappear, the English author. They never, because they wanted an interview from him, right? Because obviously around this time, like, not everyone was coming out, because the UFO phenomenon hadn't really started as of yet in terms of it becoming such a popular topic to talk about. So I believe this guy, because I watched, there's a YouTube video on this as well. It's called the Lossymouth Incident, if anyone's interested in.
I will definitely be interested in that.
There's two parts. There's part one and part two.
I'll definitely have a look.
We need a little screen so we can just watch it.
Yeah.
So you go on Rogan.
Yeah.
Pull that up,
Jamie. So this guy was on holiday, and he was planning on making his way from Berwick, which is like, South Scotland on the coast, and he was planning on making all the way up to Wick, which is obviously closer Skye and all that kind of stuff.
Aye.
But he stopped in Lossy where he planned to stay for a week, which is where we are now. Not the exact place, but we're in the vicinity. And then obviously this happened. I think he was walking a country path that took from Lossy to Buckie. He was coming back or something like that, and this is where
Would have been the line, yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds like it.
That's flying saucers at the lady, confirmed. But there's one of my general notes here that I think kind of links, because I was thinking, why Lossy of all places? Do you know what I mean? But there seems to be a there seems to be a common trend, rather, of UFOs in military bases. And we have a military base in Lossymouth.
Oh, yeah, we do.
Which I thought this story when I first heard it about maybe 10 years ago, because there used to be a lot more articles about this. But when I researched it the other day, a lot of them are gone.
Really?
Yeah.
Like you see, see on YouTube, right?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I've been studying this for years. But
Yeah.
on YouTube, when you used to type in UFO videos and stuff, loads of stuff would come up. Mm-hmm. But nowadays, they've toned it down. So, like, if you try and search for a specific thing, you'll not find it.
Yeah.
You have to actually type in the channel and find it yourself.
Full on letter for letter. If it's a capital's got to be there.
So because that's their way of saying, this is just like stupid stuff.
Yeah.
It doesn't, it doesn't exist. That's just their way of trying to hide things. But yeah, it's still there, but it's a trouble to find it.
Yeah.
And the reason I came to actually believe the story in the end, right, because I just thought it's a little nonsense. You know what I mean? The guy made a book or whatever, but then he disappeared, and then apparently he died in Switzerland because he was ill, but there was no kind of confirmation. The guy basically vanished off the face of the planet. Because he was raising the alarm, basically.
Well,
it was like, I've literally just like talked to like a Martian. And it was like asking stuff like telepathically, because he was trying to like point to planets and stuff and point back to the thing and say, are you from here? And they would it was trying to communicate no. And then there was like a lot of talk. I think one of the questions it asked was, is your species planning war? Which is another common thing. Like, there's a part in the Phenomenon, which is another documentary I watched, where the school children have contact telepathically with an ET, and it like the message it puts across is like, you're ruining the planet and there's too much focus on war and stuff like that. And literally a classroom like 25 or something, like, they all came up with the same story, not having like spoke to each other.
Same
and they
drawings.
still remember it 20 years on, and then the school teacher ended up backing the story up after initially saying that it was a load of nonsense, just because she was like, "I'll get sacked if I say something like they're gonna think I'm mental."
Yeah.
But the reason that I believe this lawsuit with Mouth One now is because I'm not going to name them or anything like that because they don't know I'm going to do this or whatever. But I have someone that I know that's from similar kind of era that told me when I was a youngster that they were coming back when Lossie had a cinema. They were coming back from the cinema.
Can't Furnitures.
Yeah.
Well, now it's not, is it? Cool.
No, well, that's what it was. That's what it was at the time, wasn't it? I just know that building is Can't Furnitures.
It was coming along the Stockfield Road, right? And this was in the 50s as well. And they said to me, one of the weirdest experiences ever, and it was like, I stopped. I think they'd stopped because there were, that bit where the Stockfield Hotel is now, there was like that, that, like the hill with the junction and that.
Yeah.
So like stopping to look both ways before going. And there was a guy in a spacesuit. Bearing in mind, we hadn't been to space yet.
Yeah, exactly.
This is like 20, 15 years before then, and it turned around and looked at them, and it just went back to doing what it was doing. And I just thought it was like a load of... I was like, you must have just been seeing things. But this person was with me when I was watching the video, because I rewatched it the other day, but I watched it like 5-6 years ago. It's one of the only things left. There used to be hundreds of videos on this thing. I honestly thought there would be like reports in it in the Press and Journal and the Northern Scotland stuff. That's all gone as well. Yeah. Jesus. But I was watching the video a number of years ago, just because it was a local thing, right? Not necessarily because it was a UFO thing. And the person that I'm referencing to the story before was behind me, and it showed like a kind of picture, like a diagram of what the English author dude had seen.
Yeah. And
the person said to me, "Stop that right there." I was like, "Where was what's that?" And I was like, "Oh, it's this potential UFO contact sighting." It wasn't like that's the thing that I seen across the road from me. Do you know what I mean? And that was like in 1953 or something along the lines of that. Like, because this person was still a kid, and I'm like, that's crazy because like it's
lasting a lasting impression on him. That's for sure. I was like,
think about it. You're never gonna forget about that, are you?
Oh, yeah, no. Exactly.
That's madness, eh?
So yeah, they're even around good old the Jewel.
Well, I'll tell you, I mean, my brother, him and my cousin, want to get a takeaway, and they sat at the harbour, and in the car and stuff, and all of a sudden there was just this. I was gonna get him to send me it to show you, but I forgot to ask him, and he actually got it on video. There was like a UFO, just literally, there was something out in the water, and it was like hovering. It was just there above the water. I don't know, maybe a couple of 100 feet above the water, something like that. And my brother and my cousin were like looking at each other like, what is that? My brother just started videoing it, and he started zooming in and stuff, and the thing was changing shape. And he's got this on film.
Yeah.
And it was changing shape, and it was getting brighter, and it was dimming. And then all of a sudden, an RAF jet was launched.
I wonder, because there was a story about jets being scrambled to intercept an unidentified aircraft.
A guy I watch on YouTube, his name's Secure Team Tyler. Secure Team 10, I think is what it's called. If you search it, you'll find it. He did a cover on this, on the Lossy one. Not my brother's one, but the one on the they were trying to say it was Russian jet. But anyway, and Russian bombers. Anyway, but the one my brother couldn't believe it, because we were just talking about it before, and he phoned me. He's like, "You're not gonna believe what I'm looking at right now," and he zoomed in and he actually videoed it, and it's like, these are a typical light, sort of bright light, sort of changing shape, form, sort of video that I've seen before. I've seen loads of them. And all of a sudden my brother's out at the harbour videoing this in Lossy.
That's insane.
I mean, I'll show you, what I'll do is I'll send you it, I'll show you. I'll get him to send me it later. It was wild. I've never seen anything like, I didn't think I would see it here, not in Lossy.
Yeah.
And but yeah, all of a sudden a jet scrambled out of nowhere. Jets don't fly at that time of night. There was one jet. They sent up to do one lap, and then it landed.
Yeah, that was to go.
So
take
they were
a look
looking
at what
for
the hell
something.
It is.
What was that? They must have. It must have came up.
You would
on
have
a
sent a
radar.
hell of a lot more for Russian bombers, that's for sure.
Well, if it was any Russian craft in our airspace,
And even when it
better
is,
believe there'd be more than one craft.
even when it is Russian bombers, they just say that in the article.
Well,
This
they
specifies
say that because
unidentified
apparently we
aircraft.
expect that kind of behavior.
Yeah.
We expect for the human race to be shit to each other.
But the thing was, it's just that it was up, and it did like one lap and landed again. Like
That's madness. That's probably like, I ain't taking on that. I was like, nope.
But they must have
Nope.
realised it. But my
just
brother was saying it was like
on.
going side to side, up, down, and it was doing like, do you know, like you get like them little flies, and they go around like this,
Yeah.
and they like it was doing that. And
It's
that's
almost
when my
like
brother knew it
breaking
was.
physics with the way that it was moving compared to what
It's
we can
completely
actually do.
different law of physics. That completely
That's
different.
wild, eh?
Right, John, your last
Oh,
one
yeah,
before
so-
we all wrap this monster of an episode
So
up.
my last one also kind of links into one of the last ones we've done together, was conspiracy theories. So
Okay.
this one's mostly to do with the dark side of the moon.
Oh yeah.
So obviously Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong, the two guys landed on the moon.
Did it end up being a scam?
Well, obviously they were broadcasting this whole thing back to Earth live, weren't they?
Yeah.
And it goes, the stream dies for 2 minutes. And now this is where the conspiracy kicks in.
Okay.
And it's all to be, and it's to do with that the people believe it was censored what Buzz and Neil were saying.
Oh yeah, you did mention this before.
So what they were actually trying, because apparently in interviews they actually state they were told not to go or not to pay any attention to what they see on the dark side of the moon, because what he was saying in these 2 minutes was like, wow, look at the size of these babies, they're huge. And he also reports that when they basically get close to the moon or they land on the moon, he watches an alien spacecraft take off out of a crater on the moon and flies off, but it's all on the dark side of the moon. So although it's like pitch black, I'm guessing there's at one point he's been able to see, because this is in like live interviews, he's actually stated that this is what we seen. We were told we are not allowed to report anything we see on the dark side of the moon. That's insane.
Structures as well.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's crazy. That's like that aliens are there watching us the whole time, and then all of a sudden we've just went and landed on their doorstep.
It's like, oh, they can come here now.
Yeah.
That's why we didn't go to that side.
Yeah.
You see?
Well, that's what I mean. It's also like, that's basically all I wanted to say about it. But these were two very, very influential and famous astronauts. Very well trained people, and they don't, from what we can tell, they've not lied about anything. So although, depending on, it all falls in the era of the time. It didn't happen during the Roswell incident or anything like that. This is like, what, 20 odd years later.
Yeah.
Well,
And
it was
boom.
1969, the moon landings, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe it was I don't know if it was the Air Force, it was the CIA, but it's some government organization closed the case on the UFO thing in 1969.
I think that was the AAF.
Yeah, the AAF, that's the
Yeah.
one. Now, why does a case get closed?
But that's the same.
Because they've came to a conclusion,
That's the same
right?
governing body that said it was the Mogul, the Mogul secret project.
Yep.
That was apparently that crash debris.
Supposedly, when they did land, though, there was like the crater. They did see a UFO come out of the crater.
Coming out of the
Supposedly,
crater.
there was another one following them around.
Yeah.
Making sure that what they were
they
surveilling what they were doing, I guess. But I've actually saw video evidence of when there was another guy up in the module. He was sort of going around the orbit of the moon while they were down there, and there was like videos of the little UFOs. You can see they were obviously massive, but they looked small because of, well, space is massive, and they were coming out craters, and you could see them flying in and out of these craters.
Because there was another guy who's on one of the Apollo flights. So this was later after Buzz and Neil, and he says the same kind of thing. He's like, the dark side of the moon is. There's something there.
Yeah.
Like, that's what people firmly believe, because that's what they see.
Yeah.
They may not be able to hear anything, because in space it's just a vacuum. There's no volume in space, but it's all to do with sight. But I mean, you're out there. I mean, you're dealing with at one moment you can be in like 300-degree heat, and then 45 minutes later you're in the freezing temperatures, and then 45 minutes later 300-degree heat. There's a lot that happens out in space as well that we're not aware of. We do think, like, when you think being an astronaut, you think, they go through crazy training, but it doesn't really prepare you for standing on the moon in direct sunlight, 300-degree heat, and then all of a sudden, you rotate, and then you're in freezing temperatures or sub-freezing temperatures. It's going to take a toll on you. So my question sometimes is, I would love to think these guys are telling the truth, but I mean, could they just have been getting messed with? These are like the first people on the moon. Were we really prepared to we were prepared technology-wise to get them there, but were they actually mentally prepared for what was going to happen?
Well, I suppose that's one of the arguments that people would say is the reason for the cover-up, because we don't even if you look at just the whole...
It's not as if he had his own camcorder and took it with him.
Yeah.
It's like, this is what I'm seeing.
Like, we react to news
recording.
really bad, right? Like, even if you think of the pandemic when it started back in March 2020, and everyone going nanners and buying every bit of toilet roll. We're not exactly logic thing. We play on emotion. That's the bad side of emotion, right? Yeah. We get told, like, okay, look, something might not be great.
Selfishness.
And we're like, right, everyone get toilet roll right now. For what reason? I don't know.
Screw over the old lady that lives next to you.
Yeah.
I'm faster than her.
That's literally what it was.
We're just really dumb, aren't we? Like, none of this means anything.
It's the other thing is, to go back to it, that, this is a conspiracy that 2-minute dying of the stream was a conspiracy to hide what they were reporting back.
Yeah.
It's shown in almost everything. The government covers up everything. They play down things. Sometimes they play up things that don't need to be played up. Like, they can talk about things mainly to help get people involved in it, like when they want to do drafts or when they need soldiers. They start saying, oh, do this, do that. We need this, we need that. Why? Because they're assholes.
I suppose you could always say as well, like, there's always been a kind of distrust between the state and its people, right? And it works both ways, right? Like, they distrust us, hence why they want to see more into our lives, and we distrust them because they're doing that. Do you know what I mean? It's like a kind of
I definitely
two forces
believe
going against each other.
They have information on ET.
Oh yeah,
they full on have that kind of information.
But, like, imagine they just released the information. What do you think they?
Well, it would be worldwide
think
panic. But you have to do it at some point. You have to tell people something like that.
Yeah. I think
if we get shocked with it one day, we are not going to have the response that the rest of the world want us to have. We're going to be like, oh my fucking god, like, blow it up. That's what we'll be like.
Well, during the whole coronavirus stuff, April 2020, that's when they decided to just throw it out there. The first ever acknowledgement that there was an unidentified flying object, because these military videos had been out there for a few years, like of these fighter
the TikTok UFO.
They like track this thing and they're like, what the hell is this thing? And the Pentagon came out and just dropped the absolute bombshells, like, we don't know what that is. So that was like progress in the sense of they actually admitted that,
but in their way, they're like, we don't know what it is. We're not saying it's aliens though.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's their way of sort of saying.
But they didn't come up with an excuse for it this time. They were like, that is something.
But I mean, it just, I don't know. It's a really tough thing. I don't know why they did it. I kind of think that maybe they're sort of getting.
They probably wanted. They were like, right, okay, now's probably the time to do it because everyone's just going mental right now.
Information is
because no one really reacted to it.
Well, if you
not
think
the way you thought,
because if you do think about it, it's a fact of like information is money. This kind of information is worth millions, millions. True. So if there is anything related to any kind of ET life out there, they are not going to just give it. Oh, hey, China, you experiment with it. We don't trust each other.
Yeah, exactly, right.
I think that's a big issue. We can't trust each other enough to share something like this.
See, like, think about what they have, though. Like, obviously technology-wise, but what have they got on camera that they don't show you?
Well, exactly. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So, yeah.
Do you remember? I can't remember. This was actually based on a film. This is an actual film. I can't remember what one it is, but it's like a guy. He goes mental and kills his whole family. And during this whole like live recording of it, there is a full-on spaceship. It's in America again. I don't know what is with like ETs in the USA. They absolutely love it.
Well, it's the most advanced nation on the planet, not technologically-wise, but military-wise. Yeah. It's the most powerful entity on the planet.
Yeah.
That
But yeah, I can't remember the name of the film, but apparently it was based on true events. Like the guy lost his mind and like killed his family and his kids just randomly. He's no prior cases of mental illness, anything like that. But it all just happened when this spaceship. You can see something in like the as we say, it's a crappy camera, and you can see something moving above the house, and the camera starts going all staticky, and people are screaming. There's flashing lights everywhere, and then this guy just decides. Like chucks his kids. You can see him like throw like kids down in the corner, and then the shotgun goes, and he does. He like executioner styles his whole family. Like, Jesus. But he doesn't actually. He's not aware of what he's done. And I think after when he's aware of what he's just done, he's like, and then pops himself and the ET's all gone. No more flying saucer.
I kind of think the government, as I said before at the start of the podcast, they put it all in as like into movies like, oh yeah, they're bad.
Yeah, this was to be. It's almost like a propaganda film. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's. I don't think they are.
No.
I would love to think they're not. You know, I would love to think that they are there to.
I think they would if they were that way inclined, they would have done something about it right now. Not right now, by now, I should say.
Yeah. I mean,
but at the same time, we're hardly going to be on their scale because they've proven that they can travel to and from us. Well, with all this.
But why would they not claim the land then if they were? Because that's, war and all that's about conquering, isn't it? It's about
maybe they don't see it like that. Eh? That's what. Cause obviously, you're saying that they want to come here and they say that we're too angry, we want to fight all the time. Why would they be interested? Like I'd be like,
no, but like that's what I'm saying. I don't think that they're aggressive.
There are. I reckon. Well, supposedly there's a lot of different ET races.
Yeah.
Supposedly there is an aggressive one, but I don't know. I don't know if that's true or not. But all I'm saying is that, if there is ETs that do sort of that are in charge of us, then they probably think, well, we'll just let them get on with it for a little while. You know what I mean? Until they're ready to
join the intergalactic planet of parliaments.
Basically, something along that kind of lines. Anyway,
I mean, who knows?
Yeah,
who knows?
The possibilities are endless.
I mean, our next thing is ET. Our next thing is going to be artificial intelligence, which is going to be
a game changer.
Pretty mad because I think they're already.
Is that not going to be governed by the laws and the facts that we know and we have inputted into it?
I don't know.
Because it could start thinking on its own, right?
But this is what I mean. If it starts thinking up on its own, it can only use the information it has access to, if you get me.
Well, yeah, no, but
to start with.
Yeah, it may start learning things, but imagine it's when it starts to trying to create things. I'm telling you, man, Terminator, Genesis.
Everybody says that.
Everyone says that. I also think that's because the thing about machine is efficiency, isn't it? Mm-hmm. And when you look at it, the difference when machine is now evolved, pretty much can do most things that we do, right? Yeah. And probably better. The one thing that it will never have that we do is emotion. Now, some people say that emotion can be a good thing and a bad thing, and there's probably truth in both those statements, right? In terms of it will probably go.
A computer will do anything logical.
Yeah. Well, for example, you make decisions that are not good for you based on your emotion, right? Like, let's just say, like, a close family member of yours was on the run for a heinous crime.
A computer's not going to hide them.
No, exactly, right? But like you would probably because you care about that person. You know what I'm saying?
I get you.
So I don't think it's going to be. We think of it like we're thinking in our head that they're going to do what we would do, which would be if we were like kind of had like these creators, we didn't like how they were doing things like that, we would kill them because that's just how we react. Whereas artificial intelligence will probably like, okay, these people do need to go because they're a liability, but they're not going to do it like Terminator and be like, "Oh, I'll just blow everything up and stuff." That ruins the planet further.
I looked a bit. I looked a bit into this for maybe a couple of years ago, and I was listening to a guy called Sam Harris. I don't know if you've ever heard of him.
I might have
the real smart dude.
Yeah,
and he was saying that. If you think about artificial intelligence, which is like. It's going to be good. So, like right now, we've got, like, Alexa and all that sort of stuff. Like, I've set it up in my room. Like, all my lights and everything are all connected. I can...
It's wild.
It's all, like, voice activated in my room because I can't be bothered getting up to the light off. So, and you can do it on your phone and stuff like that. Change it, percentage, the colours, everything like that, right? Which is... That's a good part of AI. But it's called dumb AI.
Yeah,
that's the sort of AI that's going to be driving us in the car. Yeah. Right? And then you get the other one that's like a supercomputer. So the supercomputer artificial intelligence is just going to be incredible. So I'm talking about, like, it thinks for itself, but it's only in a computer at this stage. So it thinks for itself. And so what will it be able to do in time we'll be able to create like 20,000 years worth of innovations in just 1 week. So think about where we were 20,000 years ago, and think about that happening.
That's obviously because it can process. It's going to be able to process millions and millions of these ideas, essentially, or these innovations instantly. It's going to be able to plan them out from start to finish.
So like you work in
100 million ideas he's planned out, you know.
So like you work in a factory, you work like as a receptionist. You'd like any of that. Like a lot of people probably like builders and joiners and all that sort of people. They're never. I mean, you're not even going to need builders and joiners anymore. Because a lot of things will be 3D printed. So, like, if you look at things like that, you're not going to need people like that anymore. Because you're not going to need. Like, nobody's going to work. The government are going to have to give you a certain amount of money. Everybody will be like that eventually.
Yeah, because there's no jobs. Because the computer can do it all.
Artificial intelligence will do everything. I mean, it might even be in charge of the world.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, that's when it starts getting scary, though. That's when like
exactly. I mean, Elon Musk reckons it's already late.
Yeah.
Too late now.
Oh yeah.
But we've got to try and steer it in the direction where it's not.
Yeah, we're too reliant on it. We're even too you can't. I'm a phone addict. If I look at my phone, I'm going to be on that for an hour. Do you know what I mean? Though?
I'm the same.
It's my weakness.
99.9% of the world. It's already happening. But the moral of the story is, when this computer does think about, oh, we're in charge now, someone better be next to the plug to turn it off.
But we need to steer it in the direction where it's not. That's not the case, and use it to our advantage. So we could 3D print amazing buildings. We could create incredible technology. We could essentially save the planet. We could make...
Our intentions are going to play a big role in what it thinks itself, right?
It needs to take us to type 1, type 2 civilization. So that would be like multi-planetary, where you're in charge of the actual solar system. So everything is kind of up to what you want it to be. Artificial intelligence will be able to do that eventually.
Yeah. But I fully agree. Like, I do fully agree.
We're talking mega.
It could be what gets us out there. I mean, we might not need Elon Musk anymore.
It could take us out. It could take us out of that rut.
Yeah.
That we're in at the minute. I mean, technology, we're doing all right, but we're not.
Yeah.
We're not really advancing.
We haven't seen anything yet. We have not seen anything yet.
I think if we listened to Nikola Tesla when he was saying things, I think we might have been a lot further than we are now.
Yeah.
So.
Well, the world needs innovators and thinkers.
Yeah, man.
Let AI do it for you.
Exactly.
Right. We have been going... This is our longest podcast ever. 2 hours, 16 minutes.
We did say...
It's going to be a 2 hour bad boy.
We're going to branch off rabbit holes. We've ended up talking about simulations and AI, and it's all kind of worked its way back around, and I've censored John. Everything's happened today. But,
I've been shut down.
Thanks for coming on again, dude, to help us with our whole
journalism
degree.
Anytime.
It's good to have the outside kind of the look on it as well. You had a lot of information that I had no clue about, and that was great.
I've kind of been looking into this sort of things for quite a long time.
Yeah,
that's good.
And it's just one of the topics I've always been interested in. Yeah, so
I mean, we probably haven't even covered near enough all we wanted to talk about today, but
I always seem to, like, you know me, I seem to go historical with all of mine every time. So that was me with religion.
That's why you're fact checker John.
That's it. Big bad John.
Everybody
John
loves
Rogan.
John Rogan.
Everybody loves a bit of history though, and I believe that, you know, the sort of stuff that we were talking about that I sort of I've looked into, I reckon I've only covered about 20%.
Oh yeah, there's so much out there. But like I say, they just, like, well, as we know, it branches off everywhere. Many rabbit holes.
There's a lot of things that are hidden in plain sight as well. So.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Anyway, I'll allow you to...
Yeah, well, take care from the NEC, guys. Until the next time. Peace.
This podcast is also available on Google Podcasts, Breaker, Pocketcasts, RadioPublic, and Spotify.